Hello. Good evening,
Hello.
everyone. Hi, Tanika.
Hi, how are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm well. Happy Saturday.
Oh my gosh,
Thanks for having me.
Oh, thank you so much for joining us. I think I have you playing on another screen.
Uh-oh.
Me and technology. So, welcome everyone. My name is Florida PI Sam. I am a licensed private investigator in Florida, specialized in criminal defense, primarily for the indigent. However, you could hire me if you have a cheating spouse. I guess I could go follow them around. I have with me tonight someone who probably does not need much introduction, but I have Tanika from Tanika's 2 Cents.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for having me. I'm excited for our conversation tonight.
I'm so glad that you agreed to come on here and talk true crime with me. So,
Absolutely.
So just to let everyone know, I have never actually spoken person to person to Tanika. We have texted, we have emailed, and we had a teeny tiny brief chat before we came on here earlier about whether it was snowing in New York. So I am really excited. I have a list of questions, but I want to say hi to the chat. I see a lot of familiar names because I know some of your subscribers. Come on over here.
Yes, and hopefully they've all subscribed here too.
Oh, I would love that. And congratulations on you just recently hit 10,000 subscribers.
Yes, thank you.
That is impressive. And the baby in the background is Sugar Bear. He has things to say sometimes.
He does indeed. Yes.
So,
Yeah, we hit the 10,000. It was fast and furious. It almost seems surreal, but I will say behind it there were way more views, and you get like once you hit 1,000, then you get paid for the views. So I had my views way before I hit 1,000 subscribers, and so that was the tricky part because I had like one breakout video about mentor lawyer visiting Sarah, and I had not yet hit 1,000, but I hit my hours with that one. So then I was just like hoping to get to 1,000, and then it just took off from there.
Oh, that's awesome. You grew your channel incredibly fast. I believe you started last summer.
I did. I started in June. I did my first video in June.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That is crazy. Okay, before I derail everything, let's say hello to some of the folks that are in the chat. It's so nice to see you. Welcome to Leah and Alexis and Trial TV Live, who are my moderators. Thank you so much for everything. And the Squeegee of Justice, welcome. C. Morales, welcome in. I'm just going to go over here to another screen. I saw my mother earlier. Hi, Mom. Thanks for joining us. Barbara Ellison, thank you so much. You helped facilitate the connection between me and Tanika. Afton Ford, I believe you said it was your birthday, so happy birthday to you. Mads, good evening. It's nice to see you. Hey, Susie. So my stepmother recovering from her 4th hip replacement dislocation. Situation's horrible. I hope you're feeling better. Hi, LW. Nice to see you. Larry Powers, welcome. Yeah, it's good to see everyone. Thank you so much. Hi, Barry Adams. Barry Adams says, "Whoa, I've been day drinking too long. This is a dream come true to have Sam and Tanika and Sugar Bear. We're only missing Henry." So I asked Tanika, hi, Rot Irish. Nice to see you. Hi, Margaret. Welcome. C. Morales. I think I said hello. Hello, hello. Hi, Bethany. Welcome. I'm so glad to see you. Nice to see you. Sean Dameron, welcome in. Bethany's going to be co-hosting my forthcoming podcast, Not Another True Crime Podcast. Hi, Sugar Bear.
You say hi. Hi. Oh, you're creating a podcast. That's so cool.
Yeah, I am. It's called Not Another True Crime Podcast. Okay, so hi, Dad. Oh, I didn't see your name, but I see people calling you out. Hey, Jenny. Hi, guys. Welcome. Everyone, welcome in. Okay, so Tanika, thank you so much for joining me. I have questions. Do you have questions for me? I have questions for you.
I have questions. The first question I have for you, what made you want to be a PI?
I learned I didn't want to be a lawyer.
And then how do you get started? So you wake up and you're like, I want to be a PI. Then what?
Well, it didn't exactly go that way. I went to law school and graduated and moved up here to Tampa, and I got a job working in a solo practitioner's firm. I was running it basically, and they don't teach you how to do that in law school. They don't teach you, they may now, but a decade ago, they did not teach you anything practical, like at all. So, I basically Googled myself into a job. And at the time, he had a number of different kinds of cases. I had gone to law school thinking I was going to practice family law. And then before I knew it, we had this murder trial coming up in just a matter of months. So instead of studying for the bar, I studied for the trial. I didn't know there was such a thing as a private investigator who worked on criminal cases. I didn't even know that there was such a thing as the JAC. I didn't know that private defense attorneys could be paid by the state to try cases. So it was all just sort of through a progression of working there, and the more cases that would come in, I had to find investigators that were working for the JAC. And I found Billy Lane. I needed him for a death penalty case of a sovereign citizen. And I brought him in to work on that case. And I said, hey, I'd really like to talk to you about what you do. And he's like, okay, yeah, sure, whatever. So I talked to him and I was like, how do I do this? How do I do what you do? Because I don't want to be standing out there with people's lives in my hands. I want to be sitting here reading all the stuff and trying to figure out, who done it. Because at the time, and the case I'm going to talk about on my podcast, there really was room for reasonable doubt. It's getting harder to find. So that's how, just by witnessing it basically, and kind of being a part of it in a way,
Yeah, and that's good that you knew yourself well enough to know that you didn't want to be like on the front line face to face, like with the judge of like this person's life in the balance, right? Especially you guys have the death penalty there in Florida. Like that's serious business.
Yeah, I have about 5 death penalty cases right now, I think. And the length of time that it's taking cases to go to trial is just unreal and insane. I mean, even Sarah's case took a really long time. But what I want to know is why you are not a lawyer, please. How in the hell did you end up in the true crime world?
Because by accident.
I think you would be an amazing attorney, an amazing investigator. You have insane skills when it comes to finding things and pulling them all together. So tell me, how did you get here?
Whoo! Oh, that is a lot. So how did I get here? Well, one, I've always been nosy. So that's the root of it all, right? Of like you have to have a natural inquisitiveness to it, right? And then you got to put the pieces together of like, where can I get this information from, or what do I need to triangulate this information to get to where I'm going? And I kind of do that in my real job. I work in television and technology, like managing projects. So I'm always trying to figure out like how do the pieces fit together. And sometimes we're doing stuff that's never been done before, right? So there's not like a playbook, like when 4K launched that hadn't been done before, or when HD, like those kinds of things are new. And so you have to like think outside the box on how to solve problems. When I was young, my 2 things were I wanted to be a lawyer or I wanted to be an actress, and none of those fully panned out. But I did work as a compliance auditor once upon a time when I was in Los Angeles, right? And so I learned how to read like regulatory documents and understand a little bit, but very much like on the civil side of how things would work, right? And going in front of like government agencies and showing, like, when we get audited, what does it look like? Where where are our opportunities for improvement? But I've always, always, always loved true crime. My mom got me a book when I was I don't know how old. I read at an early age, but it was like a woman had murdered her husband, buried him in her cellar, and covered it with limestone. And I was just fascinated, like, how did, like, the limestone had something to do with the preservation or the decomposition of the body. And so I've just always done it. And then probably in the last 4 years, I actually started tracking trials. Like when Charles Adelson went to trial, I was downloading all of his documents and sending in FOIA, but I didn't have a channel. I was just being nosy.
You
So
were
then I
just
was like,
doing it for the fun
yeah,
of it? Oh my
yes,
God.
yes. Like I wanted to know who was calling him. It's weird. It's just a weird. So then I was like, well, I want to share it with people. So that, like, the very first video, if you go back, it's like me and Sugar Bear on the couch watching Sarah when she was the 58-page letter, I believe it was, when she was like, I just want her to be nice to me. And I was like, this woman thinks he's the manager. Like, she's Karen and she's complaining to the manager. And that's kind of how it started. I made that one video in June. I was just like, I got it out of my system. And then I went back and I was like, I got 1 subscriber. Maybe I'll make another video. It was just random.
That's crazy. And you're doing so well and you're so entertaining. I love watching your videos because they make me laugh. And as I've said on here before, like, you have to find some levity in this or you will really truly lose your mind. So when I tell little snippets of true stories on here, it's not to devalue the victim in any way, but just because if you don't find some humor somewhere, you will lose your soul. So I really enjoy your videos. They always crack me up. And you are an expert now on Sarah Boone. So are you prepared to testify at the retrial?
I am not. Oh my goodness. I am not. Uh-oh. Hang on a second. Okay, let me get him situated here. She's fascinating to me just as a human being. Her behavior, like, why didn't she take the plea? Do you know?
Listen, that plea could not have been any better. Any better. I know you knew the math the same as all of us did. She would have been out in 8 or something. I mean, I think we figured it out, right? And I'm like, okay. I came off the case because, like I said, Billy was doing the job he had hired me for, and he is closer to Orlando than I am. I'm in Tampa. He's in Lakeland. So, it was a haul for me to get there. And that jail in particular is a nightmare to get into. It's a nightmare to do professional visits. You have to schedule ahead and bring all kinds of documentation. It's just like here in Hillsborough County, I show up with a letter and an ID, and I'm like, I need that person and that person and that person. They bring them to me. It's not like that in Orange County. So this was when Mauricio was on the case. So I worked on the Triple X rapper, XX Tentacion.
Right. When he left Sarah, he went for that case, right?
No, we had them all at the same time.
Oh, okay.
So he went around, he picked up a couple of high profile cases in Florida. He is from Florida. He went to the same law school I did. So, but yeah, I came off the case before I saw all the discovery, and I just never followed it again. So
wow,
I picked it up, coming up close to trial, and was like, do I want to watch Sarah? Like, do I want to watch Sarah?
Have you met her in person?
Oh yeah. I've spent hours of my life in the room across the table from Sarah. Hours that I will never, ever, ever get back. Ever. Ever.
God bless you. Oh my God. Wow. I didn't realize that. Yikes.
Yeah. Yeah. So I hadn't seen all the discovery by the time the trial came around. I was just as shocked as everyone else. Because, like I said, 1, I hadn't been following it, and 2, because I came off the case, like, I went into the cloud storage that I shared with Prison Break Investigations, and I just took myself off of, because I was getting too crowded, right, on my end of all the cases that are no longer open, or I'm not working on them, and I took her out of the mix, so I couldn't have gotten to her discovery even if I wanted to.
Okay. She couldn't
But
either, apparently.
she had it from the beginning. Like, Billy Lane is former law enforcement, and he is thorough and detailed. And I know for a fact they were bringing stuff to her in early. So I don't know. There was a lot of speculation about a lot of things having to do with Sarah, and Sarah created a lot of that speculation on her own. She was given every resource from the beginning.
Wow. I mean, I looked through the files, and Mauricio was very thorough in all of the things he asked for. Like, he asked for the crime scene investigator, or the
JD Thompson.
crime scene recreation investigator, death investigator.
JD Thomas. Is it? Yeah, JD Thomas. I know him too.
Okay. And then there was a Sawicki in there. I don't know if he was digital
John
forensic.
I know him too.
Okay. Like, so he was very thorough. I mean, I just feel like it was a hard row to plow, the whole case. And then she's got all these photos, but no corroboration. I was following it diligently, and I was still shocked to see all those photos of her with George. Like, it just felt like, I don't know, a hostage video. You know, those one where he's like, it's a good day to have a good day, and he seems happy. The one where he's like cowering on the floor. It's just like, woman, what were you you thought this was going to help you? This was going to exonerate you?
He actually did.
Wow.
I know, it's crazy, right? So it's amazing. You started a channel about this crazy woman in Florida, and in what, 6 months time, 8 months time, you hit 10,000 subscribers.
Yeah, I hit it in January. So I think that, what is that, 7 months, maybe, something like that. Yeah. It was weird, and I want to be fair because it's not like there's magic. It's my third channel, so some of the things I didn't have the same learning curve on. The lives are a bit different than what I did on my other channels. One is about fertility, how I took 5 years to get sugar bear and lots of needles. And the other one is just about like mental health. So I already had the experience of kind of talking. I mean, and I talk at work, you know what I mean? It's not like I'm afraid of speaking. So it was that. And I think it was the details, but I also looked at like, what are the opportunities? Because there's so many people, right? So even to try and make a dent in Sarah Boone, I had to differentiate myself. So I focused on that because it was saturated. Like, YouTubers who have like almost 1 million subscribers are covering Sarah. So how was I going to make my content stand out?
I know, it was crazy, absolutely crazy. And there's a group of us that kind of joke around, thanks to Sarah Boone, we've all met each other, and that includes you and me and Trial TV Live and a lot of your subs and some of mine. So, you know, I guess Sarah is the great uniter, is what I've called her. But I looked this morning, and you have done 100 and I want to say 63, but I get numbers wrong. 63 videos on Sarah.
Is that right? I don't know. I haven't counted. That sounds about right, though. Sometimes I'll do like 9 videos in a day. I'm a loon, but I have a job. Yeah.
Like, but do you though? Because I need some secrets. I need to know what you're eating, what you're drinking. I need to know your skincare process. I need to know what substances you are on that makes you be able to focus and concentrate and do all the things, a job, 3 successful YouTube channels, a young child, some dogs, Manhattan. I mean, I live in, you know, a tiny place in Tampa, Florida with one cat who I can't keep his fur on his body. I do not understand. Yeah, I'm constantly just in awe of how you have managed to put this together. But I get that you have a very analytical mind, so it makes sense that you can kind of take all these bits of information and put it together. And that I was trying to understand, I'm like, how is she able to read these legal documents and actually make some sense out of them? And so it makes sense now that you said in your background as compliance, you had to do
yeah, compliance auditor. We had to do a lot of regulatory stuff, and that was around like when there was those predatory lending. There was a lot of predatory lending. There was the know your customer, a lot of those regulations, and people were getting sanctions for them for not complying. And at the bank that I worked at, it was actually celebrities. And so, like, this is not one of the clients, but say, for example, if Tom Cruise opened a checking account, people would be afraid to ask him. They're like, oh, we know it's Tom Cruise, but legally you have to have that in the file that you verify that you know your customer, like things like that.
Yeah.
So taking that legal language, and then I would also, like, part of one of our big audits, rewrite it and work with the policy and procedure writer so that it is palatable for people, right? You're not going to give a front desk, frontline cashier the code, the like the statutes. You're going to give them something bite-sized and digestible.
Yeah, exactly.
So that I have a pattern of doing that. So that helps, like, talking about the documents too, like trying to make it relatable from a person who's not a lawyer, so people don't get intimidated by it. I think we all have a part in the criminal justice system, in the justice system. And okay. So yeah.
Well, I think that's great. I mean, that's a skill set that, well, you talked about actually having multiple skill sets. So it's not only like understanding sort of legalese, but then also being able to break it down and teach it to people in a simpler format. But also you have the personality to make it interesting and entertaining. And so there you go. You've got the elements, as they would say in the law, to make a successful channel. So Sarah brought you into true crime YouTube. Looks like you've been talking a little bit about the Adelsons. What is your next? Can you share who you think the next interesting case will be?
I think it's going to be Lori, Vallow, Daybell, and I think it's going to be Donna. I don't know about Kouri. Like, I'm trying to, like, she's not that nuanced. She's kind of easy. Do you know what I mean? Like, predictable. But I think with Donna, there's going to be so many hijinks along the way. She's basically throwing all her money at the wall. She knows she's not coming out. I mean, maybe they'll let her out with Harvey for a while, but she's going to die in prison. And so it's just, what are the antics? Did Wendy set her up? Is she going to feel like Wendy set her up? Like, do you know, like, all of those little bits? And then I think Lori wants the attention. Like, even though she's saying no cameras in the courtroom, she's coming in full makeup, her hair's done.
No way.
Yeah, she knows where the camera is, her angles, like how to suck her chin in properly. I got to take notes. But all of those, she's like ready.
So for anybody that doesn't know, because I have some friends that come out to support me, but they don't follow true crime, Donna Adelson is charged, I think, with first degree, or is she charged as a principal too?
Yeah, she's got 3 counts: first degree, conspiracy to commit, and then solicitation.
For the unaliving of her son-in-law, Dan Markell, who was a very beloved professor of law in, I always get it wrong, Tallahassee or Gainesville?
Tallahassee, FSU. He was at FSU.
And I think I said UF once before, and some Florida person will come for me. Sorry, guys. I don't follow all the things.
Right.
So that's an intertwined family situation that happened so that Wendy Adelson could get control of the children, right? Then we have the Lori, Chad, Daybell
cult leaders. Yes, they're going, 157. The chat will know, but yeah, they're so getting rid of people.
Yeah, that was like an end. That's a whole situation, right? And then you were speaking about Kouri Richins, and she also decided that she didn't need her husband anymore. Is that correct?
Yes, she needed his money more than she needed him.
How's that working out for her?
Not good. And her poor kids, I just feel like when these things happen, they don't think about the kids. So the kids basically have no parent now, right? And there was a prenup she had. And so I think the prenup actually worked against him, because he was worth more dead than divorced.
Okay. So I was thinking about this earlier today because one of the cases that I find to be really fascinating is the Wagners at the Piketon Massacre from Ohio.
Yeah.
Because as I was telling you, I am from Ohio. Um, and that case did not get the kind of coverage that all these others have, and I don't know if it's because it wasn't glamorous, but it was major. It's like 5 members of one family conspired and did unalive 8 people in one night, and they did it to get custody of a child. So, and a grandmother was charged in the whole thing, and the mother set the whole thing up, and the judge just basically let her walk out the door.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm wondering, what do you think about people who they want their custody of the kids so badly that they think it's a really good idea that they're going to get away with removing them?
I think it's horrible. Another one who's done that, Shayna Gardner. Have you heard of her in Florida, where she was married to Again, the Microsoft exec, and they divorced. They had twins. She and her new husband hired a hitman who shot him in the middle of the road in front of his youngest daughter after he was dropping the twins off from like Wednesday night. They had the custody switch. He dropped them off like he normally did. They all had dinner. He dropped the twins off, was driving home with his youngest. There was a tire in the road.
A bit.
Oh, yeah?
A
Okay.
bit.
Sorry.
A bit.
And the guy shot him.
That's just awful. I don't, so YouTube, the true crime world of YouTube does not, the trends on YouTube are not the same as what I encounter every day in real life, which is juveniles running around, robbing each other, shooting at each other, battering one another, and then finally taking one another's lives. And I'm wondering what happened? Like, how is this possible? Because then we get it's, I guess I'm having trouble with families, right? With understanding family dynamics right now, because I don't understand going to such extreme measures to get a child. And Trial TV Live just did a trial where the ex put the woman and the woman's lawyer just through absolute nightmare abuse and harassment. I don't know how that lawyer is even still functional. It was a family law attorney, and he just let out so much abuse, and I don't even have the words. I haven't even seen the end of the case. I don't know if they're still televising it or not. But I don't understand, because I get these clients who are 16 years old, and my friend Scotty Sonardi was on here a couple weeks ago, and I'm sure he'll be back because I work with him on 85% of my cases. Like, we are on the same case. So all we do is text each other back and forth about juveniles. Like today, I sent him a thing, 5 juveniles arrested for this. Last week, it was 2 16-year-olds who had shot 2 others. And it doesn't stop. But then we get the moms come in, and I don't know if it's like, oh, don't judge me now. I'm going to stand up for my son now because I wasn't there before. It's like, ma'am, you cannot manipulate the outcome of this case. Your son is facing life in prison. You meddling is not, it's not going to do anything. Where were you before your child was running the streets with a gun?
When he really needed you. Yeah.
And I guess that the people who we watch on YouTube, or the people that I get in my cases, I don't think they ever watch actual true crime content, because surely if they did, right? If they did, they would know.
Don't talk without a lawyer. Rule number 1. Even if you didn't do anything, if you did or you didn't, don't talk.
Especially if you didn't do anything. Do not talk without a lawyer. I say it every week. I have a law degree, not a law license. I can't give legal advice, so I'm going to give you common sense advice. Do not ever talk to the police without a lawyer. I do not care how innocent you are of anything ever. Just don't. That's number 1, I think. but it's just crazy, right? That is it.
And the digital footprints. They always seem to forget that. Like, we know everywhere you went because your phone was there or your Apple Watch or what, you know what I mean?
Or it's in your iCloud. People are like, oh, if I don't have to give my code to the police, they can't get in my phone. I deleted that. No, you didn't. And
Stephen Stearns found out the hard way.
so did Alec Murdaugh, although he wasn't smart enough to even try to delete stuff. But the digital information that came out at that trial, I mean, I did not get a thing done during that case, not a thing, because I was just glued to every minute of it. And I did not know, because I have to teach myself about cellular and digital forensics. They don't provide us training for that on my side of things. I have to teach myself stuff. And so I learn a lot actually from watching trials. And sometimes I'll take the names of experts and things like that because we can't always find a suitable expert for what we're looking for. But the digital stuff. So we've got idiot children running around not understanding how the world works, apparently, right? And then posting it online, but not thinking about jail or judges or cops or prosecutors or victims. It's like they live in a bubble, right? Where it's
Right.
their little world of social media, where if they put their guns and their cash and the whatever up on Instagram, that's really great. And the rest of us are never going to see it.
It's really bad too. I mean, even if they're not doing like crimes per se, just behaviorally, like I know when we interview young people, the HR is going to go through your whole social media profile. Like the internet is forever. Don't put that up there. I can't stress that enough to young people. Like just how are you going to feel about it in 30 years? Do you know, or even 15 years from now? You're very young. You just don't want that. And somebody could copy it from the internet because some people feel confident. Oh, I can delete everything. Not once it's on the World Wide Web. And there's the Wayback Machine. You know what I mean?
The
like
Wayback Machine.
Just be safe. Like don't do it. It's not worth it.
It's not. And I'm really, really, really freaking glad that this was not around when I was in high school. And you and I are about the same age. So, I did not have good impulse control. I'm not sure that would have been a good situation for.
I still struggle with impulse control. Oh my God. I would have been dangerous if social media existed in high school.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. It would have been awful. Awful. I'm so glad I did not have that to contend with.
And I did curate my lifestyle too. Like I had friends who were on like the yearbook committee. So I knew like that was our version of social media. Like don't use that picture, use that picture. But yeah, no. Thank you.
Yeah, my biggest social media participation, really my only, was I had Facebook in law school. And, you know, I was the oldest person there. And they were all millennials, every single one of them. So it was fun to have Facebook. But then I had like my grown-up friends out in the real world, like my old high school friends. And I'm here at the university, you know, School of Law, posting content about the craziness of being in Florida in law school. I deleted the whole thing.
Oh my God, that sounds fun though.
It was fun. It was definitely fun. So where do you think, or I guess my question is, what do you think about all of these different channels on YouTube doing true crime? Do you think that the appetite for this content is going to continue to exist at this rate?
I do think it is. And I think there's enough room for everyone, right? Because we're all sort of, thank you, bringing our own personality, our own sort of hook to it, if you will. And I think those that have the staying power will choose to do so. Like I've watched True Crime Loser forever, and I've watched him evolve. He used to record on his phone, on his iPhone, with just his earbuds, you know, and now he's grown his channel so large. So I think a lot of it is whether you have the fortitude to keep going, right? Because it's not always going to be like straightforward and trying to figure out your numbers and where your area is. I mean, if I didn't enjoy it, I wouldn't be doing it. I don't care what the numbers were. And so I think that helps me because I enjoy it. I love doing it. And just going through it. But if it was like, and people say, do you want to do this for a job? No, I don't. I love my job. I would be a fool to walk away from my job and try to start over as a YouTuber, you know? So it's for fun and I enjoy it for the most part. There are some, you know, comments I could do without, but I think that goes without saying.
Yeah, oh, I'm sure. I've been very lucky thus far. I haven't ventured into doing like recorded and edited content, and I don't go back and watch my streams, and I know that people will find fault with that. But I don't do it for a reason, because if I did, I would find fault with everything I said. Every glance, every whatever it was, I would end up hating myself for it. And so what I've been saying on my streams is I'm putting them out there just like this right now because it took me 5 years to get here. And I don't want people, especially Gen X people, to think it has to be perfect. If you have something to say, it doesn't have to be perfect. I'm using headphones I bought to go on a trip to France and a laptop computer. This is my setup, right? You can see the crazy blinds in the background because the cat goes through the blinds. It doesn't matter how many times a day I go and straighten. It doesn't matter, right?
Oh my God.
You know, and sometimes he's just biting me the entire time. And I'm like, please stop biting. Don't bite me. Don't bite me. So I haven't forged too far into, or at all really, into the record then edit process. But I'm thinking about it, right? It's just like I have to find the acceptance of myself and imperfections because I have to practice what I preach, which I preach a lot and then I practice almost none of it. So, you know, it's a balance, and you do both. You put out recorded, edited content, you put out premieres like the one you did just a few minutes ago, and you do live streams, and you're doing them all crazy hours of the day.
Because of my work schedule and the baby, like, yeah, I just find time for it. That's why sometimes I have like 9 videos because I have time. I got time today, so I'm going to record some videos, you know. There's no rhyme or reason to it. I will say when I had like scoops, I tried to get those out straight away because I think that's what helped the channel grow quickly. Like the scoop with, oh, Mentor Lawyer went to see Sarah. And I was actually watching a Lazy Gamer, and he was reading through her IMS reports, and he mentioned the lawyer's name, but it didn't register to him who that lawyer was. And so I was like, oh, I'm going to make a video. Like that's Mentor Lawyer. It's a James, I can't pronounce his last name. It starts with a W, but I recognize it. And so then I wanted to get that out straight away. And then like when Owens came on, I wanted to get that out straight away because I was docket watching. So I was the first one to say she's got an attorney. Do you know? So I wanted to. You knew? Nice. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Billy would have been working with. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would love to hear his stories.
Yeah, that thing is, so Billy he has agreed to come on the channel. The problem is he can't talk about all the things everybody wants to talk about. And so I run things through my head all the time. Like how do I present Billy without, like, how do I get that right? How do I do this book right? How do I do this docuseries right? How do I do these things with the least amount of damage possible? I guess it doesn't have to be perfect. It has to be with the least amount of damage possible. And I know, I think you had commented in a prior stream, like about getting questions ahead of time and not like letting a chat loose on him. But my chat's only usually about 20 people at a time. And since you're here, the number is up quite a bit. But I've already forgot what I was going to say. Let's answer this question from LW. Sam, why did they let the defense show photos that had no metadata or substantiation? You're trying to twist my tongue, and not demand to see the police photos? Okay, do you know what photos LW is speaking of?
Yes. So the black eye photo, there was no metadata. There was nobody to corroborate that black eye was a result of something that happened with George. Or the stabby photos, right? Of like, yes, she, like one of them, she's in the hospital bed smiling. The other one, yes, her leg has a gash in it, but was it caused by George? Like, where is?
That's what she said. I mean, she did say that, and it did get infected. I did see some medical records.
Okay, because some people said, and I wasn't there, so I don't know, that there was a wine glass and she was drunk, and that's how her leg got cut. That it wasn't these steak knife upstairs, whatever. Who eats steak in a bed with a steak knife? Like, I just on your lap.
Excellent question. Okay, a wine glass, that makes sense. There was a cut on her leg. She did go to the hospital for it. It did get ugly for some reason, probably her
She
not
got
taking care of
MRSA
it.
or something, right? Or some type
Something
of
horrible. So I know that there very much was a wound, but you know, when I was going to meet with Sarah, it was a lot. Like, it leaves you drained, you know? Just
Is she nice at all? Is she ever? She is. Okay, well that makes it easier,
No.
right?
I mean, when she, you know, she sits there with her hands folded in front of you like this, you know, just prim and proper. And oh, I'm so grateful. I'm just so grateful. I'm so thankful for you. Thank you so much. I'm so glad you're here. You know, very appreciative, and oh, you're going to be my savior. And you know, I'm the victim, but I'm not, because I fix everything and I'm the best at everything. But I'm also the victim. But I'm not a victim. It's just, it's exhausting. It's exhausting. So
That sounds draining. And you would be there for hours at a time?
4 or 5.
Ooh, yikes.
Yeah. I tried to go back and look through my notes and see how many times I went to see her. I know that I went at least twice. I'm a terrible record keeper, but don't tell that to the JAC, please. I know I went at least twice, and I know that they were for big blocks of hours, because I remember us both walking out of the jail. It was so hot outside, and I remember just being like, "Oh my god." And then we had to go sit in traffic from Orlando, and we just like scrapped the rest of whatever we were supposed to do that day. And like I said, it was a total pain to go and see her. So, you know, I have some out of county cases, but I tend to stick to Tampa, because I can be to the jail in 20 minutes. It may cost me $15 to get there and back, but I can be there in about 20 minutes, you know, and I can show up anytime I want. So that's a lot easier. So the photos that had the no metadata, under the rules of criminal procedure, as I last knew them, was that for photographs to be accepted as evidence, it would require substantiation, you know, there. So I didn't catch that along the way. Were they admitted into evidence?
They were admitted after she gave her overt action testimony, but nobody corroborated them. It was only Sarah's word. That's sorry.
Actually, for Florida, I think that there's a rule of evidence about that. Like, it used to be that the person who, I guess I'm thinking about police photos though. I don't know. LW, I do not have a good answer to that question. I'm so sorry. My brain's not going there right now.
I would it's probably the prosecution did not object to them, honestly. They knew that those photos looked fake. Why fight it? Do you know?
Well, yeah, I do know. I agree with you. I think that they had so much on their side. It was like, why, you know, they would have just given James Owens more cannon fodder, essentially, you know, more to like complain about, I guess, in the courtroom. So, Barb Ellison says, I would love to ask Tanika and Sam a question about so-called YouTube censoring certain words. If this gets opens for questions, she has a follow-up. Many YouTube channels claim that YouTube doesn't allow certain words, therefore no mention of M, S, C, Sam, etc., using the actual terms, but that's not true. I hear the words, details, etc., on big channels. Yeah, you sure do, on like Emily Baker and Peter Tragos. And I noticed that you are not censoring anymore. I don't know. I'm just sort of following. I'm like a sheep. I'm just following the herd.
So what I've experienced is when it really matters is in lives. They like if you use a censored word early on in your live, they will take down the monetization or they will reduce it down to half. So once you get monetized, if it's eligible, you'll get a green $sign, meaning it's available, thank you, to all advertisers. It's suitable for all advertisers. But if it gets a yellow, if you get a yellow $sign, it's not suitable. So you'll make less money on that. So it's not that they'll take your video down, it's about your revenue. Also, the larger channels like Emily Baker, Peter Tragos, they have sponsorships, so they get money from that. So they're not as reliant as a smaller YouTube on ad revenue, right?
Right.
Yes.
Right. I am nowhere near monetization. I don't know that we'll get there. I hope we get there at some point, because then maybe I could get like a camera and not have this situation going on.
You'll get there. I mean, you can have whatever camera or whatever, but you'll definitely be monetized in no time at all. I mean, you especially being like a PI in the true crime. There's a lot of lawyers, Sorry, Sugar Bear for some reason is into lip gloss at this moment.
That's right. Yeah, it's a weird perspective to have, and it's a lonely one, because like Scotty, for example, he goes to court all the time. He has peers, that are young like him, that just went to law school, and he knows the people in the public defender's office because he worked there while he was in law school. Even Judge Sabella, who's our chief judge, was one of his professors. So like he has all this interaction with all these people, and I don't. So for me, getting to interact with the YouTube chat is like my socialization. Otherwise, it's just me and when I'm at the jail, and it's not really a lot of fun for I mean, I don't mind going and talking to them, but I don't have good news for any of them.
Right.
ever.
You need an outlet. You need a social outlet.
Exactly. And yeah, so for me, just getting up here and having a conversation appeals to me more than making like edited content videos. But like, how long are people going to keep showing up if I don't sort of, I don't know, pull it together a little tighter? But I've got so many ideas. I just don't know.
Well, and now is the time to experiment, because I feel like also in a way my channel grew too fast for me, because I feel like your channel grows as your sort of skills grow, I guess, if you will. And so you get time to experiment. And some of that I felt like I didn't, like with the lives, trying to figure it out, like so many people yelling at me about audio. And I'm like, I'm a human being. I'm going to need everybody to calm down. You know what I mean? Like it was just, but I'm trying to figure out the software, because like I said, on my other channels, I did lives in a different way. They were like more, I don't want to say emotional, but yeah, part of it is dealing with women who are struggling with fertility or figuring out like how to be single moms by choice. So it's a different vibe altogether. But I feel like you being a PI is such a unique place to be on YouTube. I haven't seen any female PIs, and I think it's kind of badass. Like it's, in my mind, I'm like Nancy Drew, and you're like one of the Charlie's Angels. You know what I mean? Like it just is. It's a badass job to be a PI. Like you're in people's business. You're like asking for their records. You know what I mean? It's like a boss job. So I just feel like people will come because of that. And as you tell your story and as you enlighten us, because I've learned a lot about like the digital stuff, and just some other, hearing you talk about the JAC, and like you have information that people want, like to help us put the pieces together.
Yes, but you put the pieces together better than I can, because I'm working on other cases. Not that you don't have a job that is important, but it's hard when your job, like my work is also the same thing I'm talking about on YouTube, but I also can't exactly talk about my job. Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah, you can't talk about the specifics. Like, you have to
But
talk
there's
in
things
general.
I really want to talk about.
Right.
And I'm trying very hard to find the correct way of doing that, right? Because I do fall under attorney-client privilege. I do sit at the defense table at trial. You know, I do sit with these guys and their families and all the different things.
Right.
But and thank goodness I do have my friend and colleague Scotty, because without him, I think he feels the same way, like, because we have the same clients in common. I would lose my mind if I wasn't able to talk about it with him and express my aggravation, you know, at the baby mamas who are meddling. Listen, you're gonna get your man is going to pick up witness tampering charges. Shut up. Don't talk on the jail phones.
On the
Don't talk
jail
about
lines. Right.
I mean, it's the amount of ignorance yet bluster, I guess, that I face is really weird. So it's like they think they know all, they think they know better, so they get involved and they start making messes, and then they wonder why the case isn't going better.
I almost wonder if they think they're untouchable.
I don't know. So, you know, I had this conversation with Scotty the other day, and he's like, well, baby mama wants to fire me. And I'm like, well, okay, baby mama's not your client. And I said, go out there and talk to the client. It doesn't matter who pays. One, baby mama's not paying. Two, she's not your client. Doesn't matter if she is paying in Florida. And I assume that the rules are the same everywhere. It doesn't matter who's paying the bill. The representation is between you and the person who is accused of a crime. So go out there and lay down the law for that kid and tell him you're not answering to his baby mama. It's not up to her. She doesn't know best. She didn't go to law school. And the kid picks up a witness tampering charge for being on.
That is so crazy. And isn't there like a confidentiality? Does the lawyer have to talk to the baby mama? Like,
no,
oh God,
no.
yeah.
I have a blanket rule. First of all, no one's getting my phone numbers anymore. I mean, I have probably like 5 different phone numbers from various different apps, and I actually have a second phone, and I'm not giving my phone number to anyone ever again. And I had a case in a county where I wrote a report that had all my personal identification information on it. And the lawyer, without ever asking me, speaking to me, warning me, filed that straight into the docket. And in that county, I threw prosecutors, judges, and cops all the way under the bus. And then it was on the news. So I've decided I'm not giving out my information anymore, you know, because it's not worth it. The people don't have any boundaries. So the clients, you may have gotten the client out of jail 15 times since he was 15, right?
Oof.
Mom is still in denial that her son is basically a gangster because he's always getting arrested with drugs and guns and money in his car. But she'll still blow your phone up at midnight on a Sunday asking why he's still in jail. And it's like, I'm sorry, he had probation and the chance to do it right over and over and over again. And he keeps doing this over and over and over again. Therefore, you do not get to step in, mess it up, blow my phone up at midnight on a Sunday. There's the thing about there being digital devices now is people have no boundaries, like at all.
Well, some of them were only raised with digital devices. Like you and I grew up where there was like a landline and you could hang up and then there's a voicemail if you didn't want to talk to them. But now it's just like, even with the text, like younger people will text me and I'm like, text is nonlinear. You text me, I might text you back in an hour, 2 hours. Like I'm busy. You can't expect like 2 seconds after you text me, I'm gonna like, no, I'm sorry. But There are no boundaries because before also you wouldn't call a home line after 8 p.m. normally. You know, people are getting ready for bed. I don't know, maybe because I grew up in a small town, but like
No.
on a cell phone, people feel free to call you at all hours.
All hours. Yeah. All hours. Yeah, 100%. And you know, I struggle with, do I keep my phone on? Do I turn my phone off? Because I have parents living in Ohio that are older, you know. And it's like, well, you know, do I understand iPhones now got it set to where you can customize all the notifications for all the things all the time. It just gets more complicated.
I get confused. I know you can do not disturb and like keep certain people in, like I keep my mom in, but I swear I always get it mixed up. It's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot, and it's a lot to keep track of. And then, you know, on top of Apple updating iPhones, I'm getting phone dumps, Cellebrite dumps. And we've got a case right now for a juvenile, shocker, who's got 6 cases, one of which is going to trial in like 10 days time, if not sooner. I don't know, what is the date? Yeah, probably about 10 days. And I looked at this file, it says unallocated, and I looked at the document, the ends of the names, and I'm like, oh my God, this is a whole bunch of Cellebrite, the not just PDFs. Like I showed a PDF on here and how you can sort of sort through that. Well, PDF can be tens of thousands of pages depending on how long somebody has used the phone, or whether the investigator is going back all the way, or if they're just looking at a certain time, because it's up to law enforcement what they take out of that phone. It is not up to me. But then they do give me the Cellebrite forensic download, so where they actually plug the phone in, right, to the piece of hardware that pulls everything off of the phone. I get that too. But that's can be gigabytes and gigabytes and gigabytes worth of data. And what you are looking at is all the little icons and emojis. Each one of those takes up like what do they call them? Artifacts. So if you use Gray Key, or you use Magnet, or you use Cellebrite, all the little pieces are called artifacts. So imagine that you're trying to go through and find like text messages. But I mean, even you look at the chat and the emojis, right? And then the YouTube emojis and the thing, it builds and it builds and it builds. So I've got this file folder for this kid. And I'm like, I don't even know how to sort this out, because they literally, when you say phone dump, they literally dumped multiple cell phones of raw data, PDF files, and then the Cellebrite reader, and it's all jumbled up together.
What about what's on their apps? Like, does it also download like WhatsApp, Instagram messages?
Oh, all of it. Absolutely, all of it.
So you could be looking for a needle in a haystack, though, right? You just go through everything looking for like something that would be relative.
There's a tagging setup in there, but honestly, I can't remember now, because I've stopped going into the actual data dumps and I've stuck more to the PDFs, because it's the data Cellebrite, it's just clunky. I run all Mac operating systems on everything, and I install Windows on through Parallels, so it's a virtual machine, blah 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 blah. You know, and it's a clunky, heavy process. You are not hiding anything on your phone. When you've deleted something, it shows up in Cellebrite and it says deleted, but it shows you the file, whatever it was. It's right there. It's still right there. You are not deleting anything off of your phone. But what I can see is the fact that you tried to delete it.
I just watched a case last night where the guy, he unalived his girlfriend and her daughter, and he tried to delete it, and it was there. Yeah, like meet me outside or something. It was just like meet me outside, and he was saying, "Oh no, I didn't see her that whole day." So then they were like, "Well, why was she meeting you out?" You know, like, gotcha.
I'm having trouble wrapping my head around what is happening right now in terms of like what happened to a good old-fashioned bank robbery. When's the last time you saw a bank robbery?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
You know, it's just really hard sometimes because you know, families are being destroyed, and I'm seeing a lot of young men's lives just go down the drain before they've had a chance to live them. And then they get more messed up by baby mamas or their own mama's dramas. Everybody trying to fix the mess they made makes a bigger mess. Then they're mad at the lawyer, they're mad at the investigator, then they try and play the investigator against the lawyer. And on and on and on it goes. We got a kid an amazing freaking deal for some statutory offenses. I mean, it was a good deal. And his mom said, I would have taken twice as much. They are back now and trying to appeal what he got, which if he had gone to trial, he would have never seen the light of day. Now, let me say this young man did not, he was not fully culpable for the situation he found himself in. He just wasn't, he didn't have all the metadata, if you will. And now his mom's back and she's like, I've been trying to reach the attorney's office to get the discovery and they won't call me back. Meanwhile, I know for a fact that they've called her back, they've emailed her back, they've texted her back. And I said, I just spoke to the attorney's office. They have responded to you. They have responded to your attorney. The information is there. You just have to go. They have told you that you can come get it. Just tell them when and they'll have it ready. And of course, she didn't respond to me after that because I'm like, why are you trying to stir this up? Fine. If you want to appeal, that's fine. Your kid got the best deal on the planet. So if there's a lawyer out there selling her or something different, well, then shame on him but it's just like that no matter what you do, somewhere, somehow, the outcome is not good. You know,
That's a rough spot. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting that the family members are so involved. I guess I didn't imagine that in the case. I mean, they're obviously like in the Adelsons, everybody's in everybody's business, but it's interesting that the moms are stepping in. Like, one, where were you when they were kind of going down their wayward path? And then two, you can't expect miracles. Like you knew what your kid was up to. Like,
no, well, they claim they didn't. Oh, it wasn't him. It wasn't him. My baby didn't do that. No. Ma'am, the police have been watching him. Well, they're targeting him. Yes, ma'am, because he's been breaking and entering into all the cars in all the places all the time. Yes.
Right. He's a repeat offender and they're trying to get him off the street. So thank goodness they're targeting him. So innocent people don't lose their things.
I had a member of a Latin King wanted to know who identified him for what he had done. Right. So first of all, I found his ass on YouTube in Texas talking about Florida prison as he was attempting to exit the country. Just saying. That wasn't hard to do either. But two, nobody had to turn him in because one, he did it on camera, which I blew up and slowed down and it's got audio. And three, I'm losing track of my numbers here. The tattoos. I'm like, do you see that tattoo on your arm? He's like, yeah. I said, did you have that when you came in here? Yeah. Do you remember them taking pictures of you? Yeah. Okay. Do you think they did that for fun? Those images are in a database.
Right. Oh my God.
By the sheriff's office. They know when you read a booking sheet, you can go online and read the booking information and it will tell you all the tattoos. And I'm like, nobody needed to rat you out. You ratted yourself out. And like we would tell him anyway, right? Because then you can imagine what chaos could ensue from a high ranking member of the, yeah. I mean, come on. It's like,
that's just common sense though. Like what
they don't have any. They don't have any common sense. You know, and I am here because I want people to understand, like, right, all the pieces of the process that they don't see in trial with Judge Cranick and James Owens and I forget the other lawyers' names. I want them to understand this other stuff, right? I see you scanning your brain for the other lawyers' names. What's the other lawyers' names?
Beck and Henderson. Are you talking about the with Owens?
Yeah. Or I was
Yeah,
trying to
Beck.
think of what the prosecutors' names were.
Oh, Mr. J, and Mr. Cacciatore.
Cacciatore, that's right. Yeah.
Dave
So
Cacciatore, yeah.
it's a lot. The mamas show up and all of a sudden they are fierce and fighting for their child. Do you remember when we were young people, there was an ad that would play on television and it would say, "It's 10 o'clock. Do you know where your children are?"
I remember that, yeah.
I think they need to start re-airing that on whatever the reels. Is there a reel? Can we do a reel or something to put
They
that out?
definitely need something. Yeah. Do you know where your children are?
Mhm.
And that was when the TV still had snow at the end of the night. You'd fall asleep
Yes.
and it'd have the,
Yep.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
The other
We had to
thought
be
that,
home before the street lights turned on
well,
in
I
my
grew up in the middle of a cornfield, so there were no streetlights.
We only had it at one side. The other side was a field, but on one side we had the street light.
there were no streetlights. There was corn and there was soybeans, and yeah, that was all. We did have dragonflies in the sun. Not dragonflies, fireflies. Sorry.
Oh,
The other phrase from our youth that comes to mind is, "Have you checked the children lately? The call is coming from inside the house. Have you checked the children lately?"
Oh, I
And
don't remember that.
it's a horror movie, but I don't do horror movies, so I don't remember which one, but it's like the babysitter is trying to get help. She thinks like she's being harassed by telephone, and
Maybe
they
it was
figure out
Scream. Was
the
it
call is
Scream?
coming from inside the house. I think it's older than that. When a stranger
Okay.
calls. When a stranger calls is the chat.
Okay. Oh, they've got
So
it. Kathy saying Scream from Gossip Room.
yeah.
So
I didn't
I'm glad to see that some parents are being held accountable. Did you follow the Crumley case at all? The parents were convicted for what their son also was convicted, like they bought him a pew pew when he said he was having mental problems, and then he went to school and did some unfortunate things to other
Yeah,
students.
I did see some of that. And I do think, I remember it being a big discussion in school, like, should parents be held accountable for the actions of their children? And well, I'm to what you just mentioned, I'm going to say, yeah, they absolutely should, you know, um, because if you're providing your mentally unstable child with a firearm, that is a problem. That is a huge problem, you know? Um, so let me see. I'm just kind of going back through the chat here real quick and seeing um what I have missed. Thank you everyone for coming over and tuning in. Welcome. I see a lot of new faces in chat. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for coming from Tanika's channel to say hello. We appreciate you. Let's see here. Okay, I'm picking up pieces and so LW says they can't show the cases you are doing because they're minors, right? Not all of my cases are minors, and some of them will be streamed. I have no doubt about that. At least, I want to say at least 2. Oh no, now 3. There will be cases that I am on now that will be streamed. I know it. I know it. It just takes forever, ever, and ever, for them to come to trial. Did that surprise you with Sarah's case, how long it took to come to trial?
Give me 1 second. Sorry.
That's okay. So, let me just take a look at chat. Hi, guys. Hi, everyone. It's nice to see you guys. Thanks for coming in. So it looks like some of you have been ill and that some of you are feeling better. And I'm glad to hear that because it seems like half half the world is sick right now. Everybody I talk to's got something. Sarah claims she's always been a straight A student. Any way for us to look up her grades from kindergarten to high school without hiring a PI? So I learned something recently. Even if you are a PI or a lawyer, it doesn't matter, because Florida destroys your school records like within a year. So I've got attorneys who are like, I want their school records. I want their school records. Like, well, that's good for you because they aren't out there anymore. There's like a hard deadline. So I want to say that, like, if you did graduate, they get rid of them in under a year. And if you didn't, they may hold on to them a little bit longer, but it was a really short time frame. So no, you can't do that unless, and my guess, Sarah is she not in her mid 40s or close to 50?
47. She just turned 47 in October.
Her grades aren't going to be online. They would be like mine, in a cardboard box sitting somewhere, you know, with report cards, and they'd have to be physically present. You and I can't go get our grades online. I mean, maybe I could find my law school grades, but God, let's not revisit that.
So you asked about, was I surprised if it took so long?
Oh, yeah.
I was surprised. But it was a lot was due to her. I wasn't sure what took so long in the first 2 years when Mauricio was on. Like, I know he did a lot of research, and then right before trial he left. So he hadn't filed for the battered spouse, even though he had Julie Harper. But it was like he signed on in 2020 and then he dropped in 2022. And then it felt like every time was starting all over again, which also didn't make a lot of sense.
It kind of is.
Is it? Even though they have the discovery? Like, I feel like...
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it kind of is. I've not seen as many attorney turnovers as has Sarah's, but by the time they get to me, right, that's attorney number 3. So public defender has to conflict off. That's like you go and you say, I can't afford an attorney, and they give you an attorney right then and there. That's public defender, right? Then here in Florida, we have something called the Office of Regional Conflict Counsel. So that's the next step. If they have a conflict, because like say there's 5 defendants, right? And so, and this is a true story, we are running out of death qualified attorneys in Tampa to try these cases, because everybody's taken, right? And you need, if you have 5 death penalty co-defendants, you need 10 attorneys, because you need a first phase and a second phase attorney for each one. Like, it's required, right? And not all first phase attorneys do second phase work, and vice versa. So, oh my God, my thought just went flying right out of my head. I completely forgot where I was going with that. I have too many little thoughts.
It is like starting over. You were saying when there's a new attorney, it is like starting over.
Yeah, it is. Well, because like the attorney needs to get to know not only the discovery, but maybe they want to redepose witnesses. Maybe they didn't find witnesses. Maybe they want different experts. Everybody does things differently. So it pushes out the time. And there are lawyers and some investigators who are procrastinators, and things just kind of get pushed. But also, in fairness, when you have a case with 5 co-defendants, that is a high profile case, that is a death penalty case, and you've got all these lawyers, and all of them, including the state, need to coordinate depositions. That's a nightmare. Do you want to be that paralegal? I have been that paralegal trying to coordinate that situation. Yeah, it sucks. And if you're working for JAC, if you are a private defense attorney who has the contract to get paid to work on these cases, then you have to get the JAC to approve everything, you know? So now what I'm encouraging Scotty to do is, when you get the case, don't just file your notice of appearance and notice of email address and, you know, whatever the things are. File all the initial motions to the JAC. You want an investigator, you want a digital expert, you want this, that, and the other, you want the, you know, whatever, right? Those initial costs that you know are coming, because what he has to do otherwise is, okay, they get appointed to the case. And then they decide somewhere down the line they want an investigator. Okay, well, we're waiting on an order from a judge. Maybe it's been sent to the JAC. The JAC came back and said no response, no objection. And now it's
Right,
been in
attach the email and
Mhm.
yeah.
Well, it's been sitting in the judge's queue, and the judge says to Scotty, "Oh, I know your order's there. I just haven't signed it yet." Meanwhile, I can't do any work because if I work without a JAC order, or if it's not nunc pro tunc backwards, then I do not get paid.
Okay.
So it's like there's so many pieces to this process. So think about this, right? The court reporter goes and takes during the depositions, but then you want transcripts of those depositions. That is not done overnight. That takes time, sometimes a lot of time. And you are waiting for that information to come back. And then I know you've been in and out of some of these streams. You know, I complain endlessly. The state does not turn over the evidence when they're supposed to turn over the evidence.
I'm so surprised by that. Like, I hadn't heard that. I mean, yeah, I just in the Adelson case on Friday or whatever day that was, they were like not delivering everything and defense was complaining. I just thought it's a defense tactic.
No, and no. That's a fun game the prosecution likes to play, which is why I'm in the middle of doing this power of the prosecution sort of series for my streams, and I'm trying to put together information, and I feel like people are not going to believe me. But it's so true. They do not turn the stuff over. And you can beg and ask and cry and threaten and file motions to compel, and they will hem and haw and dance around it, and it just does not. We don't get it.
Why do you
And the
think that
federal,
is? Like, what do they get out of delaying it?
that's a really good question. And I have a theory that not every prosecutor is like that. Some are, but not every. I have a theory that the ones that are punitive and play games like that were bullied in high school. Like they were just not the cool kid, and they have power and they make a lot of money, they have a lot of power, and they can just pull the strings, and that's what they do.
Wow.
It feels very petty and punitive.
It sounds like it. Yeah. And just because they can.
Because they can, absolutely. Yeah. Does evidence get released to the public after cases are resolved and there's no more appeals? Released? No, not unless somebody's looking for them. I'm trying to think how to answer this. So somebody called me, well, a lawyer put the same lawyer that filed my report into a docket, pushed a potential wrongful conviction over onto me because he doesn't want to do any of the work on it. And I went looking for the records for this guy who is allegedly wrongfully convicted, may or may not be, I don't know. The DCA destroyed the court file on the appellate side. And that also happens everywhere. So defense attorneys, they don't have to keep your files forever. They can destroy it after 7 years.
Okay. So that's like the legal retention policy is 7 years. And then, okay.
We have the rules of conduct, right? So the rules of procedure. We have the criminal and civil rules of procedure, and then there's judicial rules. But there's the professional ethics rules. What are they called? We take a separate test for it, the MPRE. And it's a whole nother code. I'm trying to see if I have the book sitting over there. And within those rules comes things like you don't talk to certain people and you don't sleep with certain people and you only have to keep case files. There are rules that govern the conduct of attorneys. So no, is it released? Not necessarily. It can actually be destroyed. Now, as we're moving more into digital, I don't know what that will look like. But we have hard drives that are terabytes full of information. You can hear the thing it broke, right? And so that's shoot. 5 terabytes worth of oh shit, sitting on my drive right there.
Yikes. So I will say sometimes, oh, go ahead. Sorry. I was going to say sometimes you get fun little tidbits from after the trial has been settled. Because I know like in the Johnny Depp Amber Heard, after they had gone, they canceled the appeal and they'd settled everything, they released the sidebar transcripts, which were fun to
Oh,
read. Yeah.
wow, that's
So sometimes you
interesting.
get some of those like after.
That was a civil case, though.
Yes, it was.
That was a civil case. And I also feel like it's going to possibly depend on the judge and potentially the state. I'm thinking about, for example, in Ohio, where they, on the Piketon case, they had a camera in the courtroom, but the judge said you can opt out of video and audio, even if you're the cop, even if you're the defendant. You don't have to be. So, like in Murdaugh, did they seal the names of the jurors?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. So it seems to me like pieces of things come out, and it depends on public records requests. And the guy that called me who wants me to look at the brother-in-law's case, he didn't even know how to get. I showed him. I'm like, here, you just go to Orange County Clerk of Courts, and right there's your trial transcripts, because they don't want to pay me any money.
Of course. Oh my goodness. Speaking
They
of
want me.
payment, oh, go ahead. No. I was going to say, speaking of payment, it's wild to me that the attorneys don't get paid by JAC until after it's over. Like, Bankowitz started working in 2022. He didn't get a dime until 2024, and he had to put up with Sarah Boone. Like, that mental struggle alone would have been bananas.
Well, so that's on him to an extent. Although when you have multiple attorneys, they do want you to wait, because every single attorney is not supposed to get paid the full entire flat fee. Now, most of these cases, the first degrees and the death penalty cases, they take so long that the attorneys apply for what's called extraordinary billing. There's another word thrown in there, but it's like basically they have to start keeping time. It's no longer a flat fee, because a first degree is like $25,000.
Okay.
And if you're working 5 years on a case, I mean, I can't do any math, but that doesn't seem like a lot of money, does it? To get you
No.
from 0 to trial all the way through a
No.
jury trial?
No, it does
Right.
not.
So the attorneys have the ability to apply for extraordinary whatever, and it's like there's a rule from the JAC, and it's like, however, say there's has to be more than 50 witnesses and XYZ, whatever, you file for that. But the catch is you have to keep time, like you have to keep regular attorney billing hour time, and you have to be able to back that up, because JAC will audit you. And then you can apply for interim billing, so they can pay you 85% of what you've billed thus far. Does that make sense? I
Yep.
probably am not explaining it.
No,
100%.
that makes total sense. Yeah.
So if you're a year and some change down the road, let's say you've racked up, I don't know, 1,000 hours, you can bill them at the $100 rate. I mean, it's not very much money, right? You can bill them for that, but they're only going to pay you for 85% of that 1,000.
Okay.
I don't do math well. So
I know Cashman had a very detailed timeline, like hour by hour,
yes,
like
she
read
was.
57 pages. She was very detailed when she submitted hers.
When I first started working for the JAC attorney, he'd put a sticky note and put 0.2 and stick it on top of something and hand it to me. And
For
I'm
the
like, this is
time.
not, yeah, this is not sufficient. Like, so I started, JAC will send out these, I don't know if they're doing them twice a year now or quarterly. They send out these newsletters, right? And so I would take the newsletter, I'd print it out, and I'd highlight and put some arrows and some sticky notes, and I'd be like, here, you have to say what it is and how many pages, and he'd put a 0.3 or a 0.25. I mean, just, I would be like, I would lose my mind. I'm like, they're not going to pay you for 3 hours to read 3 pages. It doesn't work like that anymore. No. The answer is just no. And it's just, you're recreating some attorneys' billings out of thin air, and they're talking to each other. Like if they're first and second base, they're talking to each other to make sure that their billings are kind of on par with one another.
Wow. Oof. Yeah. When you have a death penalty case, are they also like, as you're submitting, you're doing it in parallel for first phase and second phase? Like,
No.
no, okay, because like there was a therapist in like the Wade Wilson case who was actually one that Sarah had asked for, who only spoke during the penalty phase.
Mitigation.
Okay.
Yeah. So, okay, we're having issues with the JAC on this situation as well. A first phase attorney, for anybody that does not know, in the state of Florida, a death penalty case, and I cannot speak to anybody who is outside the state of Florida because I went to law school in Florida and I have only ever worked in criminal law in the state of Florida. So we have what's called a bifurcated trial, which first phase is, are you guilty or are you innocent? If you are found guilty, then it goes to a second phase, which is called the penalty phase. And it's whether you get death or life. And I believe the jury recommends it, and it's up to the judge to make the final call. Although in West Virginia, Trial TV Live just did a trial. They called it the mercy phase.
I saw that. I think
it's
that's
interesting. A little prejudicial, like mercy. I would be sitting there like, do I have to bestow mercy upon this person? Is that my place?
Right? It's almost like emotionally manipulative, that word mercy, like because that it has a heavy connotation, right? And so like I wouldn't want to be like deciding if I'm giving this, if this person is worthy of mercy. I don't think that's a decision do you know?
I do know. And can you imagine being in, I mean, people don't think Florida's the South, but we really, we are pretty far south. So, I mean, I feel like that word in certain situations would have a lot more weight than in others. I mean, yeah, so that was crazy. So we have a separate second phase, and so the first phase is where you present all the evidence and the cell phone person and all the DNA and the latent prints, and the FDLE comes in, and hopefully you don't have Trooper Proctor as your expert witness.
Oh my God. Wait.
I mean, I have so many things to say. So second phase then is kind of, you think about it as it's the aggravating versus mitigating. The state's going to put up all the aggravating evidence they can find, which means like, was the crime unusually heinous, cruel, whatever, right? You hear the same words over and over again. But this is where they can bring the people out and be like, yeah, he was really mean to my dog and he's always been mean to dogs, or, whatever, right? It's aggravator. How bad of a person can we make you out to be? How bad and what bad light can we show you? We're going to expose it all. Then on the other side, on the defense side, it's mitigation. You're trying to mitigate all that negativity. And sometimes you do that by going and getting brain scans, because mama dropped you on your head when you were a baby, and that's why you are not completely at fault for having done what you did. And that's where the psychiatric pieces come in. So I have been talking since the second I came on YouTube about trying to get a kid evaluated for sentencing. His trial ended in August. Okay. Felony first degree. They found him guilty, but all the interlocutories say he didn't pull the trigger. He didn't have the gun. But they found him guilty because his phone put him there.
Okay. Wow.
So the first thing I did was, so then it falls into my hands, because JAC only wants to pay for mitigation on a death penalty case. Mitigation specialists make more money from the JAC than investigators do. We're both paid an hourly amount. They make more money. I can qualify and choose if I want to be a mitigation specialist. I do not, Tanika. Mitigation is messy. I do not want to go talk to the families. I don't want a family history. I don't want the mess. Like, leave me and my computer here.
Yes. Yeah.
So that's the phase where they do the psych evals and all of that. So I'm trying to get a kid evaluated before the judge has to sentence him to life. And he's literally a kid, right?
Wow.
So I come home and I start Googling, and I right away a name pops up, and I know this person. So I get in touch with her. She's like, oh, I'm in Paris. And I'm like, okay, great. can you contact me when you get back? This is the situation. Yeah, absolutely. She gets back to me. She gives me 2 more names. I go after I provide those names, and on and on and on we go. Now we finally found somebody who says, okay, I'll do it. But I want, well, actually, every single specialist that came back to us said, I want $250 an hour. The JAC wants to pay these experts like $125 an hour. It's ridiculous. So Christian Lake decides that, no, he does not want to pay for a 16-year-old kid's mitigation psychological health evaluation. So Scotty has to go argue it in court. The judge laughed at the JAC, at Christian Lake. She said, these rates are from 2007. Your objection is overruled. We're paying the expert. And she said, Mr. Sonardi, go put your order in. I'll sign it today.
Nice.
What month in? February. I'm like, do you have all the emails of all the people we have tried to contact to get them to do these evals for us? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, because we've gone through at least 6, right? And I'm like looking back through every single month. Well, the JAC, he's like, did you know that the JAC has a juvenile sentencing category, right? Because you go in there and you select what you want.
Oh, okay.
Like that you're looking for, what you're looking for. So I'm on the JAC list and I'm listed as a court reporter, right? So I would list, maybe I have transcription services or whatever it was I do. So I pop up on a menu then. So if you put in 13th Judicial Circuit and you're looking for a court reporter, then you put in the services you're looking for and a list will populate.
Okay.
That's how you find vendors. Well, in one of the lists, there is actually a slot for juvenile sentencing. But Christian Lake argued with Scotty and said it's a mental health expert. And the mental health experts are like, no, it's not. It's a this and that and the, I mean, it's a mess. And this, you're talking about sentencing a teenager to prison for the rest of their life. And you don't want to let go of a few dollars to make sure, all the boxes are checked.
Is there a sentencing date set yet with all this going on?
Yeah, he's got a date.
Okay. Yikes. It's crazy because his life hangs in the balance and like they're arguing over dollars.
But the 2 kids that testified against him, they're awaiting sentencing because they testified for substantial cooperation, which means they did it to save their own selves. You see, that's how it works, right?
Gotcha. Yeah.
You and your besties get arrested and charged with the same thing. The state gets to your besties. You're on trial. The besties are like, I'll testify. And you don't get sentenced till the state decides whether or not you have provided enough cooperation. Well, one of the kids got up there and just started lying immediately. And like the prosecutor, like basically put the brakes on the trial. It was crazy.
Wow.
Crazy.
Now, are they represented? They have, okay. They're not one of those soft sits. Okay. That's good.
No. The sovereign citizens are actually pretty rare.
Really?
I've only had the one.
Okay.
Far.
Oh my God. I feel like I see videos of them all the time of like the crazy.
I feel like you find more of them maybe in rural counties.
That's fair.
Or they come from people who have served a lot of time in prison because that's where they're learning it, is prison. It's coming from prison.
Why would you take advice about your freedom from someone who is in prison?
Oh, please.
Like that would be clearly they didn't get it right.
Welcome.
You can't make this up.
Welcome into my world. You cannot make it up. We say this every single day. What is wrong with people? First of all, you weren't too bright because you found yourself in there in the first place. Now you're going to listen to somebody who's also been in there, but maybe for longer than you. If he was so smart, he wouldn't be in there telling you what to do.
Exactly.
And then they want to argue with you that you don't know what you're doing. Okay, great. You can take on my law school loans and I'll just go out to the beach.
Right.
You know better than me.
Yeah. It's hard because even like with the Sarah Boone case, right? You wonder, like, what are you thinking? Like, here's someone giving you legal advice and you're doing something else. Or Kouri Richins, and she badmouthed her lawyer in a letter that ended up going public, like that she sent to her mom. Do you know, like, what are you? I would just think you would want to partner with your lawyer. Like, how, here's all the facts. Help me, like, what are my options for, if I'm doing an affirmative defense, or what should what's the best way to go about this?
Exactly. And I mean, so we got the sentencing investigation report back for a kid, and the mom said that she didn't feel like counsel had best represented her son. So I was like, hey, why'd you say that? And she said, well, because in closing, he didn't argue XYZ. I said he couldn't. He couldn't. That would just be standing in front of the jury and straight up lying to them that they didn't hear what they just heard. Like you can't, no, it just doesn't work like that. Right. And I say that over and over and over again. It doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. I've had moms call me.
You need a t-shirt.
I owned the website. I just let it go.
Oh,
it doesn't
no.
work like that.
You should have kept it. Oh my God, that's brilliant.
Because it's true. It doesn't work like that. I mean, one of the moms who observes no boundaries, before I had any of the office phone numbers ported over to mobile or anything, she'd be ringing the phone. This pre-pandemic, I have a desk, I have a phone, I have to be tied to it. And she'd be like, can't you just call the judge?
No, ma'am, no ex-party communications with the judge. Call him and say, what? Hey, what's happening?
I'm like, no, I can't. God. Can I call the judge?
To say what? Just to shoot the
I don't know, because her son deserves to be heard in front of the court before anybody else. I mean, it's crazy. Yeah. It's crazy. People fighting with their attorney as to why they are not out on bond. Okay, well, you can't always get bond. Not every charge is eligible for bond. And by the way, in Florida, there's a score sheet system. It's the sentencing guidelines. So if you've already racked up enough points, they're not letting you go anywhere.
Right.
That's not happening.
What is the criteria? Because Donna Adelson's trying to get out on bond right now.
Like,
what is the? Because I always thought, well, and it obviously is incorrect, that if you were in for murder, you're not eligible. But it sounds like there can't be mitigating. Okay.
No, that should be correct. I don't know. I would need to go and to be able to speak specifically, I need to go look it up. But normally I would think that when you are on those kind of charges, that no, you would not be eligible for bond. I don't have a single one that's eligible for bond right now.
And she already tried to flee the country. She was arrested on the.
So usually, it usually has to do with degree of charges. But again, are you a repeat offender? Have you already VOP'd? Have you already tried to flee and elude? What did we see?
What's a VOP? What's a VOP?
Oh, violation of probation.
Oh, okay.
So that's where a lot of people get hung up, right? So your lawyer gets you probation. All you got to do is follow the list, the probation. You pay them like $50. You follow the list. You check in with the person. You don't do the drugs. You don't do the crimes, right?
Sounds straightforward.
No, but it's really hard.
Oh my God.
It's so hard. We have guys that won't take probation because they know they'll violate. So what happens is you get out on probation, right? And you have the community service and the money and the whatever they've told you to do. And there's a finite time on that. And you can actually buy yourself out early on a lot of them.
How so?
You pay. Your lawyer makes the deal when he gets you the probation that you can buy out hours.
Ah, okay.
Right? I didn't know it was a thing either. So, do you know what a nebia hold is?
Mm-mm.
Where the court researches the source of your money.
Oh, no.
I know. It's really interesting. So,
Why? Like, before you put the bond up, they wanna know
well,
where, like, if it's
yeah,
legal?
yeah, yeah, there's that.
Wow.
Yeah. So if you violate your probation, you are going that means you've committed another crime.
Right.
Okay. It took me forever to wrap my head around this. I didn't get it. I didn't get it. I didn't get it. I don't know why. So let's say you got arrested and charged with stealing an iPhone. So it's under $700. You got a misdemeanor. We're going to put you on pretrial intervention or probation or whatever. All you got to do, Tanika, is for 6 months, you got to not steal the iPhones and you got to be home at like 11 o'clock at night. But you couldn't help yourself. So you went ahead and you went out and you stole some iPhones. And then on top of it, you stole some Androids and some candy. And
They were calling my name.
They caught you. Now you have violated your probation. So whatever sentence that the judge did not give you for the initial stealing of the iPhone, you're serving that now. Totally.
And I'm gonna get some
And you're
time
getting
for
a
the
new
new
charge.
charge. Wow.
So I had a guy in a high profile case that I know for a fact will be streamed who was on probation. Obviously, the crime he's now in there for, which is first degree and conspiracy and a whole bunch of other crap. That was only his the words just do not want to come out of my mouth. He only ever had one charge, and it was that case. He got probation. He clearly violated when he was arrested for this other case, which is the first degree in the conspiracy, and it's very high profile in town. So his probation runs out while he's in jail, like the time runs out on it. And he says, can't you do a motion for bond now? My probation's over. You violated your probation when you got arrested for first degree and conspiracy. So no.
Oh my God. Right.
You did not complete your probation. Do you know how many conversations, how many times I had to write that out in, like emails to and from the jail, talk to his sister, talk to the other sister, go to the jail, explain it to him. You violated your probation. You did not complete your probation.
Right.
They're not giving you bond.
Right. You can't be in society, buddy. You couldn't figure it out. Like you sit there. Then we don't have to watch you. We know where you are and what you're doing. That is crazy.
It's crazy, right?
Yeah.
So no, I don't understand why Donna Adelson would be getting bond, like why she would be getting special treatment. I mean, it seems like that in my eyes, but I haven't followed all the details of the case either to know. I just know that she was, that she was caught trying to leave to go to Vietnam.
Yep, with a one-way ticket. Yeah, she and her
Mhm.
husband. I will say, like, they're saying there are health issues, which, she's 75 in jail. That's not going to be an easy ride. And they've now put her in protective custody. I wouldn't be surprised if at the hearing on the 26th, if they didn't have like a mental health person come in and say like how the solitary confinement's not good for her. She's not able to go out. I think that's the play. Being victimized and being old and sick is the play that they're going for. I just, Judge Everett, knowing all the details of the case, having sat for Charlie's trial, I don't think he's going to fall for it, honestly. Unless it's like a mercy. I hate to use that word now, but a mercy play for her. Do you know, like, but for all we know, they could be planning a self-unaliving, the two of them somewhere in Tallahassee, like a scene from the Titanic, laying on the bed together, holding their hands.
Really.
Maybe, like, it's interesting.
Right. I'm reading through my list of questions to see if I have other, if I missed anything. Do you see any problems with the public getting intertwined with the cases? Like you spoke about for a minute about Wade Wilson and all of the women that a lot of people did not follow that case. It only piqued my interest because I used to live and work right there.
Oh gosh. Oh my God.
I can't tell you how many times I drove by that bar.
Really? Oh.
That Joe's Crab Shack, ate there numerous times. I lived there for 10 years.
Wow.
I'm too old, obviously, right? I mean, I'm in my 50s. I would have never crossed paths with Wade Wilson, but it was just weird because Fort Myers is a very small place in the scope of the rest of the state. I feel like
Yeah.
it's, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah, I
um,
think too many women, it's giving pick me, like, and now he has like he's got a male sugar daddy, and then he's
yeah,
got like a wife, and it's too much, especially
they
after the heinous
scammed.
crime. Yeah.
Well, they did a lot of scamming, but they were trying to intervene during his trial. Like they
Oh, I
were
didn't know
trying to
that.
call the jail and they were trying to contact the judge and they were trying to do
For what reason? Why do they need
because,
to talk to the judge?
because they wanted to save him because he's not guilty.
Oh my God. He admitted to it. Oh, good Lord. He would do it again. He's one. He just seems like, I couldn't
Oh no,
control
he would
myself.
completely do it again. But do you think that the public getting so I feel like I'm not completing a thought. Okay, so I feel like on one hand we've got super restrictive judges who aren't letting us see anything. Then on the other hand it's like, okay, well we deserve transparency and we want it, right? And there's a scale that goes all the way in between. So sometimes they'll put a case that's a 30-minute delay. Sometimes all the documents get sealed. Sometimes you get Judge Bev who does no further inquiry and just carries on. But then I listen to Peter Trago's breakdown of the legalities and I understand, yeah, okay, fine, whatever. We don't like it, but it is. So then we get to the messy where the public, like in Wade Wilson, is actually trying to get involved. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's a no-no. I just feel like there's enough going on, right, for the people involved to focus on without the side distractions. Like, Wade is not the only case in front of that judge. What a nuisance to be calling him, bugging him about it. And he really can't even talk to you about the case. Like, what is your intention? Do you know? It just
But
doesn't make a lot of sense. Like, they could write a letter on his behalf, a character letter, I guess, but like, what do you need to talk to the judge for?
no, they were writing letters telling the judge to save Wade Wilson.
Yeah, it's
It's
crazy.
it's just crazy. It makes absolutely no sense. And I'm a little bit worried that if you are going to mess it up for the rest of us, that they're going to start to find more and more reasons to shut it down to where we can't
Right.
see it.
Yeah. I hope the Wade Wilsons of the world are few and far between. Um, just because I don't know. Bundy had fans. There's always those one good-looking psycho that, a lot of people, I mean, even Chris Watts had fans, right? And people going to see him. So that part I don't know if you can stop, but I think they should not be. I don't know how you stop them though, not contacting the judge, certainly. Why not go through his attorney? You know what I mean? It's just peculiar. But I think there were a lot of younger people. I mean, not that young people
There
aren't
were a lot
smart.
of
I'm not saying
foreign
that.
young women, and there's a
Okay.
lot of ignorance about the judicial system, I think, but people feel like they know a lot if they've watched Law and Order.
Oh my
I
God.
I don't understand it. I don't understand. There's so much I don't understand.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a crime and there's a trial and a verdict in what, 47 minutes of television? That's not how it happens. That's not how it works.
No,
That is
that's not
not
how it
how it
works.
works.
We don't see a lot of cases coming out of your state of New York. Why do you think that is?
I don't know, honestly. I don't know. I'm trying to think if I feel like a lot of the political cases take up the airwaves. Do you know what I mean? As far
Oh,
as like
because you're
if
the Southern District of New York. You're the
yeah.
federal.
So I feel like
Yeah.
those take up a lot, even though you can't go in with the camera, right? But there are people in there taking notes and then coming back out to report and that sort of thing. I think that takes up a lot of just
Yeah,
airwaves of like
federal
if you're looking at
cases.
the locals.
Well, the federal cases, of course, they can't have cameras, but the local cases, they can't either
No,
in
the
New York?
locals they can, but I think because they cover so much of the federal, I just feel like that takes up
Oh,
precedence. There's not very many like interesting, I mean, there's sad things happening like people being burned on subways, but it's not necessarily like a high profile. Do you know?
why do you think there's so much content coming out of Florida? I mean, it's not content, it's actually crime, but what do you think that's about?
Sunshine laws, the
The
sunshine
Sunshine
laws.
Law.
You get a lot of information. Yeah, I think that's it. And you also get video from inside of the courtroom. Like there's a feed camera. Do you know?
I
Um,
do.
because some of them, like I feel like there are interesting ones that come out of Wisconsin, but they have to be like a very hyped, like the Daryl Brooks, and I think Taylor Shabusiness was in Wisconsin. So there's some of the, I think Chandler Halderson too, like those get coverage, but not every single case, right? You usually get like unfortunately when there are child victims, obviously people want to know what happened and why. And then there are just other like bad players. Like Chandler Halderson was very loved by his parents and unalived them and pretended he didn't. So I think those kind of things draw, family betrayal is hard because we all love our family. So I think when like a mom kills a child or kills the father of her children, like that just pulls at our heartstrings because it's like Dan Markel woke up that day, right? And he was shot in the face in broad daylight. He never knew it was coming and it wasn't deserved, And so it's like that just grabs you. And then to find out it's this whole elaborate scheme from
That
his
is family.
ex-in-laws. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a lot. It's a
That's,
lot
yeah.
to see I feel like we see, is it me just paying attention to certain things, but are we seeing more women right now on trial on YouTube than we are
I've been
men?
thinking that. Yeah, I was like, maybe it's just how the algorithm is feeding it to me, but I definitely feel that there are a lot more women, especially like, yeah, killing their children, killing their partners. It's just unaliving. It's just, it's weird. It's very, I don't know. There's some sort of suppression, something going on. I don't know if women aren't supported enough in child rearing. I see a lot of moms taking their children's lives. There was one I just watched earlier. She also took her own life. One of the children lived, one of the daughters, but she shot all 4 of them in the head and then unalived herself. And so I don't know. It does seem like more women lately, like the last 5-6 years or so.
So I feel like sort of in the 80s and maybe the early 90s, like I remember reading, I'm going to get his name wrong. I want to say it's John Gray, but that's not right. The first profiler who wrote the first book out of the FBI. My ex-boyfriend, when I was in high school, I'd read all these, I guess true crime, but they were like the investigation books, right? Like the profiling unit, the BIU at the FBI, that first book that came out, and he'd be like, "Are you planning to kill me?" I'm like, "No, but I really find this whole thing fascinating." And back then it was about serial killers, right? There was the fad, if you will, was serial killers. But
Yeah.
that's not the trend we're seeing. Like the serial killers, they've been caught.
Right.
Do you have a position on the genetic genealogy? Mindhunter, thank you, Afton Forehead.
Yes, Mindhunter. I was trying to Google and I'm like, it's not
John
coming up. But
Douglas,
yes, yes.
thank you. Thank you so much. I
Yeah.
appreciate you.
I feel
Thank you.
like a lot of times there are people who are coming from lower socioeconomic backgrounds, and then you have the hired hitman killer, right? So you've got the one end or the other. I don't know if it's childhood trauma. I'm loath to say that everybody who does a bad thing has a mental health issue, because then I feel like it's an excuse, right? There are a lot of us who have, I suffer from anxiety. I'm not out unaliving anyone. I don't have a desire to. Yeah, so I feel like in our search of sort of like, why did this happen? It's like, oh, maybe they have borderline personality disorder. Well, guess what? There's a lot of people who have it who don't unalive people. Do you know? And so I am not sure, as far as there's just so many. How do you profile like the random kid who takes a pew pew to school? Like how do you? And if the parents aren't paying attention, like as a society, I think we all have to be diligent about it. Yeah.
But okay, so I don't know how it is for you living in Manhattan, but I'm guessing that people aren't staying home, that they're out and about and they're back on, like, just they're all out there all the time.
Yes.
Whereas I feel like I don't know if it was because of the pandemic or because of what I do, and I do it by myself and I'm here all the time, but like I'm not out there interacting with the world the way I once did. And now because of what I've been doing for the last 10 years, I'm a lot more scared too.
Mm.
I was fearless. I was fearless. And I'm not that way anymore. I'm afraid to get on the highway because I've had 2 cases of crossfire on the highway.
No.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yes. Yes. I don't want to go near a crowd. Like I've talked about on the channel about how I went and saw Taylor Swift. Well, I went to Taylor Swift in Paris, France, where it was a 40,000 person arena. And I thought it was the safest place you could be, right? Lots of happy, sparkly people at a Taylor Swift concert in Europe. And then 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, or a month later, someone tries to sneak a mass destruction device into Vienna or some shit. And it's like, okay, no thanks. Then I'll just go back home, and come out for my next trial. And I don't like it. I don't like feeling this way. But when you do what I do and you see what I see, it's like, well, once upon a time, I could have been the person at that nightclub downtown where the guy was standing in the middle of the road shooting. I could have been there. I have been there. I've
Right.
eaten dinner there. I just haven't been there. Like I'm a little old for, nightclubs. But I don't want to shop at the Walmart. Bad things happen at Walmart.
Right. Oh my God. They have a whole aisle dedicated to bad things.
It's not just the murder aisle. It's not just the murder aisle at Walmart. It's not. It's that there are crimes that are committed at Walmart. And you would think that people would figure it out after a while. Walmart has got the best cameras. They have the best cameras. They are so freaking clear.
Especially at the self-checkout, which is where everyone gets caught. There's that beautiful camera. I think it's 4K. It gets all of the details. If you switch a tag.
I've made a video that I haven't posted, and it says that. Like, I think it's 4K. Because people are going in there, and I had a guy walk in with evidence of what he did on himself. And then his co-defendant thought he got left or something in the parking lot, so he called 911.
The co-defendant called 911? Why didn't he get an Uber if he got left?
Well, he wasn't real bright.
So he called on himself. Come and get me?
Yeah, he called because he couldn't find his co-defendant who drove the stolen vehicle of the person they had just removed from this earth. They were both covered in, this man's blood, and they ran out of gas as they were trying to drive to Texas to save a girl that the one guy had never even met.
Oh my God. Wow.
So they're panhandling, and the one thinks that the other has left him, so he calls 911.
That is bonkers. So what was the 911 call? The operators, what is your emergency?
I honestly haven't heard it because I'm not on that side of the case. I have the other co-defendant, the one who thinks that if you commit a crime under 21, that you should be in and out in 10 years so you can have a family.
Even if it's you murder someone, because then they don't have their family.
He doesn't like the rules, Tanika, and they're unfair.
Oh my God. He can always leave the country. He can try his luck somewhere else.
I rarely lose my temper anymore because it's not worth it. I lost it on this kid because he is so entitled and so just the expression on his face, I just wanted to punch him. And I'm like, you are not special.
Right.
You've been enabled your entire life, and that's what got you here. But no, like you took a good Samaritan's life who was trying to help you.
Oh.
And you don't think you should be punished for that?
Oh no. Was the guy trying to help them get gas, or they were
trying to drive them somewhere?
Oh.
And he pulled over to look up directions. Mm-hmm. This is the same kid that said, oh, no, he was only hurt one time. I turned my computer screen around. I was like, try 63.
Wow. 63, 6'3"?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and he's saying 1. Like, how is that even
Mm-hmm.
possible?
It's not. It's frustrating. I got to tell you, the job I do is frustrating.
You must have the patience of Job because,
I
oh
don't.
my.
No, I really, really don't.
Oh my, that's
I know.
crazy.
But that's why, like, I'm in your comments and I'm typing to you. I keep having to hit edit because I'm not waiting till the end of the video. I'm like trying to talk to you in a pre-recorded video, like as it goes along. And so I
I
end up
do
editing
that
my
too. Yes, as it's going, I'm like, I have this
Mhm.
like, yeah.
So yeah, that's why I really wanted to have you come on here and talk to me and talk to us about how you ended up in this crazy world and why you love it so very, very much. And I think it's because you do not have to do it for a living.
I think so too. And I will say I do appreciate the advice you gave me. I don't know if you even remember. There was one time when I had gotten the ME report for George and I wanted the
I told
photos
you
and you were
no,
like,
don't
yeah,
please do that.
that I
I
needed
beg
to
you
hear that. Yeah.
because that first case that I worked when I first went to work in that law office, that was a bludgeoning case with they never found the weapon, but it was believed to be a um the bar for the weights. You screw the weights
Oh
on the
yeah, yeah.
end
Yes, yes.
because the circular ridges, the threads, those will apparently will go ahead. They'll make an imprint in your skull all the way
Wow.
through into your brain. So I told you don't look at you don't want the crime scene photos because you will never ever ever get to unsee that. I will
Yeah.
see and those images that I had to look at, and I had to do it twice because the trial, we tried it twice. I will never get those. I flashed on a image one time going through some discovery that I don't even know what it was related to, but I still can't get it out of my head. So if you have happiness and joy in your life, do not go looking at crime scene photos.
Yeah, I've got a
It's
lot of
just
happiness and a lot of joy. I do not want to mess it
you
up.
don't
Like,
need it.
oh,
You don't need
yeah.
it. You really
Yeah.
don't. I mean, I understand that, like, I don't know what the human fascination is. I watched the series that was like all the plane crashes ever. I like binge watched that. I had to see all the plane crashes like ever. It was on one of the channels. And I went through this whole thing that I had to see them. We have to look at a car wreck. We have to look at a train wreck. But you do not
Oof.
have to, the idea that you want to see the crime scene photos, it may exist for you, but in the end it will haunt you. Which
I
is
think it
why
was
I
a
don't.
novel idea, right? Like once you said it, I understood like the gravity, the weight of it hit me. And so I was like, yeah, no. It was
Yeah,
just
there.
in my like pursuit of like, oh, I can get all this data or can I get all, and not really like the gravity that it really needs.
It's yeah. I was surprised. I'm surprised that the other day, whatever Trial TV Live was had on, and I was working a lot this week and I wasn't paying attention, but I looked up and I saw it was they're calling it the Rose Petal case. But I saw like crime scene photos and I was really kind of surprised that those were being
Oh,
shown.
I didn't see them. Okay. I've been in and out of that, but yeah. Oh gosh.
My client, they bring so motions in limine are what are argued prior to trial to try to keep some of those prejudicial versus probative pictures out. And there's more nuances to that argument. But, the state's always going to win something to come in, to show what happened to the victim. And so at one of my trials, the defendant's mom was sitting right behind me. And it wasn't gonna come up on a big screen, but it was gonna come up on the screen on my no, there was a bigger screen, but it was also going to come up on a monitor that was right in front of me and him. And he's like, can you just sit in front of it? I don't want my mama to see that.
Oh.
He got shot in her front yard in
Wow.
retribution. Yeah. there's craziness in this true crime game, Tanika.
That, yeah. It's rough. And the victims' families, I don't know how, yeah. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
it is crazy. So, it's been an eye-opening journey for me, for sure. I don't know how much longer I will last as a criminal defense investigator. I honestly think technology may put me out of a job.
Because of all the digital evidence or yeah.
Well,
But I
if we
think you
don't
still need someone with the brain to like look through it. Do you know? I don't know. I don't know if I trust all the AI 100%.
I don't disagree with you, but also there's no reasonable doubt. So, you have to ask yourself, even as you get paid to work on these cases, is why don't they just take a plea? It's there, it's on video. We know you did it. Why are you going to put a family through this?
Right.
And I don't
Yeah,
know
you're
the answer.
re-victimizing them. They've got to go
You're
through it
re-victimizing.
all. Yeah.
And or the judge there's no good outcome for you. We've told people time and again, if you are found guilty, you are going to spend XYZ in prison. The judge has no leeway here. If you take the plea, you're getting some form of a negotiation.
Right.
But it's
Which
just not
Judge
happening.
Everett has said that to Donna Adelson, like, you might want to take a plea because if this comes back, my hands are tied. Like he has to give her life, right? And so I don't know why well, I guess it's hubris. I don't know. She's
It's hubris. It has to
yeah.
be, right? You said that the other night, and I was thinking that it had to be exactly that.
Yeah.
I don't know. Finally we had one kid who had been in county for like 3 years, and he called me on the phone. I was stunned because this kid I'd seen him at the jail a bunch of times. He barely said 2 words to me. And I said, "Who's this?" Because they don't always say their name clearly on the pre-recording thing. And he said who he was, and I was like, "Oh." He's like, "Can you guys come see me? Can you come talk to me?" And I was like, "Yeah, okay." We go down there. He's like, "I'll take a plea. I want to." He's like, I'm ready. I want to move on down the road. I'm ready for the next piece of this. I mean, he's spending his teenage years in the Hillsborough County Jail. He wants to go to state prison for the next 5. He got 5 in, 5 out, which is a really great deal. But he also shot at an empty house. So.
Yikes. Did he know it was empty at the time, or did he have reason to believe someone was inside?
He knew the occupants had left.
Okay.
It's just, there's no good outcome. Yeah. There's no good outcome. There was no victim. The house was the victim.
Okay.
So do you put...
What was it, like terroristic threats? What was the charge?
So he met this girl and came over to go out on a date with her, I guess. And her 2 brothers were in an opposing organization to his. Okay. And they alleviated him of his, or alleviated, my words don't. They took his firearm from him, and that made him really mad. So he went outside and called his brother up and had his brother come over with a friend and some other firearms. Meanwhile, everyone that was in the house left. And the brother and he and the friend just came along, and he texted to make sure she wasn't in the house.
Oh my God. Why not just go home though? Ugh. Yeah.
And somebody said something about, I guess the girl said, "What about getting your gun back?" And he said they can die with it. And the state, of course, tried to turn that into, meaning he was just being like,
they can keep it. They can have, yeah.
But the state tried to make that into something very, very sinister.
Yikes. Yeah.
As you say, make it make sense.
Yes. It often doesn't. It just, it's mind numbing, like looking and listening to like some of these documents of what they're saying. Like, it doesn't make sense what you're saying. And if you don't realize that doesn't make sense in your, like, I don't know how to help you. What you're saying makes 0 sense. Like Sarah's case, her whole hide and seek, but she's stuck with it, like,
that's the
why?
thing. That's the thing. They will stick with it. We've got one that will finally, it's been since 2018. It's a death penalty case. And it's been pushed for a gazillion reasons, a gazillion times. But most recently, because Florida changed the jury rule and we tried to appeal it about a super
The
majority
petite
versus
jury.
majority.
For the DP.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. You don't need all 12 anymore. You just need 8.
Yeah.
So he's been in since 2018 waiting for trial, and he has fully convinced himself that he wasn't there. That video is not him.
Who does he think it is? His doppelganger?
And him.
Oh my God. I have that same. Is that a Yeti? I have that same one in that color.
Yes.
I love that.
Mine's dented. It's dented because I'm constantly dropping it. Every glass in my house has been broken. I just use this one.
Oh my God. I love it.
So what would you do now that Miss Boone will potentially be quiet for a little while? Have you picked
Donna?
you're gonna go with Donna for a minute and see what happens there?
I think so. I know that case really well, and I'm interested in justice for Dan.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's a lot of lawyers in Florida, a lot of people in Florida that feel very strongly about that case as well. They should.
Yeah. It just was nonsensical. Those people should pay. They've had 11 years of, Donna has, of freedom.
Has it really been that long?
Yeah, he was killed in the summer of 2014.
Holy shit. I did not realize that it had been that long.
Yeah.
I was not following true crime as I was working in true crime.
Well, you were living it. You didn't need to watch it.
Yeah, I was listening to podcasts to some extent, but I wasn't. So I heard about Dan Markel. I knew the case, but then I stopped listening to the podcast when they covered one of my cases and got the facts wrong. And I was like, well, screw you guys. Cause no.
Right. I did like when they did the Over My Dead Body podcast for the Markel murder, but some of them, so that was one of the things when I came in, there was a lot of misinformation, and even though I'm saying my 2 cents, I will explain what my source is so that you can go look at it, or I'll pull it up, because sometimes you and I can hear the same thing and interpret it differently. So that's why I like to go over the actual words, right? Absolutely. I've sat and explained to a room full of people, and then 2 people came up and totally lost the plot. So it's I wanted to be fact-based, and then also add, a little snark and a little sass to it. But
that's what makes it so much fun. Yeah.
Thank you. But yeah, so it's I have fun doing it. I do have fun doing it. Yeah, I forgot what I was saying. But it's interesting. It's very, I think too, you being in it every day, I think you have a different, there are some things I believe you can look at and surmise, oh yeah, I've seen this pattern before. This is happening, or just from experience and dealing with different clients and kind of their things that they're going through of not remembering it was them or pretending it wasn't them, even though there's a video. That's an interesting
I'm fully convinced that they convinced themselves of a different story. I really do think some of them do that they buy into the story, and I think that's I think that's what Sarah did. I think that somebody said, oh, this looks like a DV case, and she just held on to it and turned everything into it. And she might have had it. I thought for a second she was gonna come away with
the plea deal.
Not with the plea, but I thought the jury, she had a shot with the jury, and then came the rebuttal.
Yeah. So you thought before that, they might have gone her way? I just didn't find her likable.
Nobody likes her. But does anybody like Karen Reed?
No,
nobody likes Karen Reed. Am I mad on behalf of Karen Reed? Yeah. Do I want to be Karen Reed's friend? No, not really. But do I have a lot of anger at what has happened to her? It's and what John O'Keefe and what travesty that whole situation has been. You know, I think I guess that's one of the things that I like about true crime is not just the salaciousness of it, but that people are getting to see that there's a lot of shenanigans that go on in the background. And hopefully at least the Karen Reed trial or the John O'Keefe case, hopefully that will wake some people up to some extent. I hope.
Right.
You know, that's why I come up here and I yammer into my computer every week, is I'm trying to just show you a little piece of something that you didn't really know before.
Yeah, no,
to help.
you've been covering a lot of interesting, like, sort of, I don't want to call it insider baseball because I feel like the legal system should be available to everyone, but just your insight, like you have a very unique perspective. And so I just love like when you and Jenny are on here or when you have a guest. Yeah, I always learn something new. So
Well, good. I mean, I'm glad for that. And I think you saw like where I put up that art exhibition about Kalief Browder last week.
that was powerful.
Was that not, because I never pictured a cell on Rikers Island being that size. And the fact that it was a glass like that was crazy.
And
that was crazy.
He wasn't convicted. He actually didn't do it. Like that whole thing, he was there for 3 years. His mom couldn't afford the bond, the bail, whatever it's called. Yeah.
Exactly. We're going to talk about, so the series is something, there's 6 episodes to that series, which we have recorded. We just don't know how we're going to be able to put it out. And then along the same lines, like within my Power of the Prosecution series, then I've also been talking about a book called Charged by Emily Bazelon, which really opened my eyes tremendously. I had no idea how much power the prosecution has. And right now I'm in the middle of doing the series, and I think we're going to talk about some law enforcement and then some judicial misconduct. But the thing is, and like I was working on my digital series and I kind of came away from that, and I'll go back to it. Like I have to kind of dip in and out because these things they're complex, they're intertwined, and they're ongoing, you know. And I could probably do 10 more live streams on cellular stuff and not get anywhere near it. Right. And I feel the same way about the misconduct.
Yeah. Everybody who's watching, if you're here from my channel, please hit the subscribe button.
Yeah. Put your blue hearts in the chat.
Yeah? Yes. There's 205 watching. So if half of you guys. So
that's
Sam
10
is at
my regular number.
Wait, she's at 418 subs. So I don't know if you guys know, the way the tier for YouTube works is when she hits 500, she'll be eligible for memberships as long as she has the watch hours, and then she can give you some behind the scenes content. And then the next goal would be 1,000. So if we could get her to 500 tonight, is that too much to ask for, guys? Like, has everybody in here hit the subscribe button? It doesn't cost you anything.
Aaron says we're at 461.
Oh, we are? Okay, I have to refresh this other screen then.
No,
good.
Yeah. I can't see it either.
Okay, so even less, if we get, 48, 49 more, we'll get her to 500. I think, for her time and insight.
Sorry. Okay, this one is interesting. You guys, the chat's moving a little quickly. Well, thank you if you already subbed. I appreciate you, and thank you for sticking around and listening to me speak. It seems endlessly. Have I let you get a word in edgewise? LW wants to know, are there any 5013C foundations that will pay for these low bonds that could save somebody who's innocent life? So I believe, if I'm not mistaken, because I'm just in the process of rereading it, I believe that if you look into the book that I've been talking about, which is the book Charged by Emily Bazelon, yes, this will be uploaded. Yes, it will have timestamps and all the things by tomorrow. But if you look at the book, and if you go to the website, emilybazelon.com, you will see that she has been on a number of podcasts, and I believe that there are organizations across the United States that are working to stop the mass incarceration, which is really and truly low level. It's not for these high level offenders. It's literally for the Kalief Browders, who, as I've said before, you get nicked for something you didn't do because you sort of look like somebody. Now somebody can't bail you out, and you're going to lose your job, and then you're going to lose your housing, and you're going to lose your kids, and and it's just, and it leads to mass incarceration. So there are organizations out there that are working on it. I don't know what they are off the top of my head. I'm rereading the book. I listened to it the first time around.
And I feel like New York overcorrected with that. So that happened, and then they made the no bond, no bail law. And then they were like, people were getting out who shouldn't have. Like, clearly in that case, he had no criminal history, right?
Right.
He was identified via eyewitness. There wasn't a videotape. Eyewitness is not reliable. I know people think that's like better than circumstantial. I disagree, because I've been held up at gunpoint, and the person that was with me, we both described the gunman differently. We were both there having the same experience, and so I don't necessarily trust eyewitness testimony as like the top, right? But so someone said he looked like someone, and then he spends 3 years of his life over a stolen backpack in solitary. He was a teenager, right? He wasn't an adult. 3 years in solitary, didn't commit the crime. Mom couldn't afford bail. They were obviously low socioeconomic, and she had to decide between groceries and housing and everything else, or getting him out. And so he stayed there, and then he eventually unalived himself because of the mental like, that is bananas. But then they went with the no bond, and a lot of people were out who shouldn't have been out.
Explain that.
So they had changed the law where if it was like it was supposed to be for a lesser offense, right? If you were in and you couldn't afford it, they would let you out on no bond. But then what was happening is, and I'm not sure if it was like left to the judge's discretion or there was some funny business in there, but people who had significant priors were being let out with no bond, and so they were on the street, and then they were committing new crimes. And so the question is always like, well, why were they out? Like the Darrell Brooks thing, like, why was he even out on the street? He shouldn't have not been let out on bond. So I feel like whatever the system was, it wasn't looking at the totality. Maybe it was the way the law was written, but clearly those people should not have been out to offend again. This young man was he had no criminal history, wrong place, wrong time. Someone got him mixed up, and it ruined his life and his mother's life. Like,
it ruined his entire family's life.
Yeah.
And Jay-Z is who made the documentary.
Oh, he is? I didn't realize that. Okay.
I mean, it was so, and the book, the book follows 2 different defendants and 2 different prosecutors. And the young man defendant, who she calls Kevin, he thinks about Kalief Browder while he's waiting on his first court appearance. Wow. Right? So I didn't even realize that they were kind of like from the same time frame, same, like that they had overlapping pieces. It was just me kind of recalling like, oh, what has stood out to me about doing this job and coming from a place of not getting anywhere near a jail, not being arrested, not being, I've been a victim of crime. Like, people broken into my car a gazillion times. Like, how many times are you going to steal my CDs in the 1990s? Like, stop it. I
had my radio stolen. It broke my heart. I felt so violated. I was like 17. I was like, why would you do this to me?
Mine was in an underground parking garage with a gated, like security gated thing. And they broke the window of my car and took the stereo. I was like, are you joking? And then it was like, it happened. I had all my CDs stolen like 2 or 3 more times. And I was like, well, hell, I'm just not going to buy any more CDs. And we moved on. God. We moved on from there anyway. So I want to say thank you so much for I'm getting caught looking at too many things. So I'm so glad and so grateful for you taking these hours out of your life to spend over here with me. We really appreciate you. Oh, we're at 482 subs.
Yes. We've got 210 watching. I'm glad I was welcome here and welcome with Sugar Bear.
Oh
Thank
my
you.
God.
And I
Absolutely.
wanted to do this for a while. And so Barb was the one who put the bug in my ear, and I was like, I'll ask her. And so I'm glad that we were finally able to do it.
Oh,
Yeah, this was
absolutely.
great.
No,
Yeah.
I'm more than happy to have conversations about this, and I really enjoy your content, and your personality is so much fun.
Thank you.
It's hard to say that about true crime, but it really is true. LW is saying, couldn't Jay-Z have paid Bond before documentary needed? Just saying, unfair of me, probably. Nani Lady, I saw you asking where the docuseries is. It lives on Netflix. It's called Time, the Kalief Browder story. And I think I'll try to get the links for everything put in the description tomorrow for you guys. Thank you for subscribing,
But
Gloria.
also last Saturday that you covered some of it. Like they can
I
see
did.
clips of it from there. I don't know about the whole documentary,
Yeah.
but what you showed was
No.
very, very powerful.
I showed a YouTube video that was an art installation. An artist recreated his cell out of glass. And so I showed that that clip of that exhibit, and then I read some from the book. And there's just a lot of knowledge, I guess, to be gained from both. You know, I just think we need awareness. I don't think there's excusing people committing crimes. I don't do what I do because I want guilty people to go free. I just want to make the system try to make the system work the way it's supposed to, and it doesn't. Spoiler alert, it doesn't work the way it's supposed to. Guilty people go free and innocent people are locked up. But you know, you try what you try.
I think the majority of the go ahead.
No, please.
When does your pod start? No, go ahead. I cut you off.
So I found a lot of the evidence photos that I'd forgotten about. It will be soon. My co-host on that, Bethany, she and I have worked out a schedule. We're on 2 very different time zones, and Bethany has no connections to crime whatsoever. She sold me some Taylor Swift tickets, and I have dragged her into this world.
Oh my God.
I've never met her in person.
Is she in Paris? Is she over?
No, she sold me Paris tickets, but at the time she was in Texas. And now she lives in further up in the Northeast. So I FaceTimed her from the Taylor Swift concert so she could see what it was like. And I know most people here probably do not care, but I happened to be at like the night where she introduced a whole new piece to the tour. So like it was stuff nobody had ever seen before. So that was kind of cool. And so I was like holding my phone up so she could see. She was in her car at work, like watching me FaceTime her.
Oh, that's really cool. Fun. They let you in with the phones too. I know some of them make you put it in that little bag.
No.
Okay.
So the other part of YouTube or social media for the past 2 years I know there's lots and lots of facets, but there was also one dedicated to Taylor Swift live streams every night.
Oh, wow. Okay.
For the 2 years of the Eras tour. I know. People made a lot. Yeah, and she knew it and she let it go on. Like nobody ever got a copyright strike. They made games out of it. There were like bingo cards. They called it Mastermind. Like what was she gonna wear? It was a thing. It was a thing.
Very cool.
So you never know what people are gonna be interested in. So
there are some starred comments. I don't know if you want to, if you already looked at those.
Oh, thank you, Aaron. No, I did. I looked at some and then unstarred them. Sorry, guys. Okay. Can I settle the big question? Did Sarah attempt to delete videos before the police got her phone? I highly, highly doubt it. I don't know for sure, but I highly doubt it.
I doubt it too. She said she forgot when Kelsey, I can't think, Copsel, interviewed her. She said, do you remember taking these photos? She said no. or these videos.
Right. She didn't remember at all. 100%. I agree. I don't think she had the wherewithal. I don't think she had the wherewithal. I think Sarah was saying that in the digital dump somehow police picked out the exonerating parts. That's why she needed her hands on her phone to get the proof she was innocent. It doesn't really work like that.
Yeah, because it would have been a whole dump, right? They would have had to go in and delete those pieces.
It's not built that way. Like Cellebrite isn't built for law enforcement manipulation. You know, that's not to say that a law enforcement officer couldn't get a hold of somebody's phone and try to manipulate it. But once you plug it into Cellebrite, it's just going to show, hey, try to delete this at such and such time. So there's a lot less wiggle room there than I think some people may realize. Sarah
And
claims
in
she's
their
always been-
documentation, oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, in the documentation from that, they found the 2 videos and the 1 photo on scene before Sarah got into the car for her interview. So I don't think, just based on everything that's been reported, it doesn't sound like she attempted to delete it, because I feel like they would have made notes about that when they found it, and when the CSI person called Chelsea and Detective Scott Lowen over, I feel like that would have been specifically in the notes that it had been deleted and then noted. Do you know what I mean? I think she's just blackout drunk and doesn't remember.
I don't think that Sarah is as conniving as people think she is. She was just, I mean, her ploys and her games were very high school to me. Like the text messages she sent when she was mad and he wasn't there, it all just screamed very, very high school to me. And I just don't think she had the forethought that some people attribute to her. I just don't.
I think she's emotionally stunted too. So that's
100%.
like, she's a 15-year-old. You know what I mean?
No, I agree with that totally. I agree.
So I agree with you that she's not as cunning. Like, she's spiteful, but we saw her, she's willing to cut off her own nose to spite her face, right? That's why she didn't take the plea deal.
Yeah. What about Sarah's complete work history? She claims she had 25 years of experience with data entry. Any way for us to look up her complete work history from high school to her last job? No, because that information, that for there to be information for you to look up, it has to be recorded somewhere. And
but let's do the math. Does it even make sense before we go looking for it? She's 47. So what's 47 less 25? How many years is that?
Are you making me math on my life?
I'm gonna just do the math over here. But just 47 minus 25. So that means she would have started when she was 22, but we know for a fact she hasn't worked for the last 5 years. So we'll back up 22. So 2 years back is 20, 3 years back, what is that, 17? So I don't think Sarah's had a job continuously. We know for a fact that 3 years before that she wasn't working, right? No, that's why she was getting alimony and living off of that.
I was really surprised actually she was getting alimony, because it's hard to get alimony in Florida, like really hard. So that was kind of shocking to me.
Yeah, she was getting $1,000 and then she was getting $100 for child support, which I thought was odd because they were split custody, right? But I guess I don't know how that calculation worked. Like, why wouldn't it be?
Well, the family law situation here is you fill out a financial worksheet and a parenting agreement, and it's mathematical with who. So the way they want it now is they want it to be 50-50 as much as possible. But you get money based on how many nights you have the child. So if you have the child more than the other person, you shouldn't be paying the other person necessarily. Right. And there's a whole mathematical thing to it. So how would I have responded when Sarah Boone asked Billy why was he there at the discovery hearing? I mean, I think he gave him an honest answer, which was that the JA called him and told him he had to be there. You know, I felt for Billy because the Judge Cranick just kind of handed him Sarah in a suitcase, if you will, and said, "This is on you now." And I thought that was a lot. And I felt very bad for Billy because I know he works very hard and he's got a lot of irons in the fire all the time.
But she also pretended, at least maybe I'm over imagining it, but she was like, I don't know why he's here. I don't know why I'm here. Like, she never met him before. Like, he's your private investigator.
She knew him. He was the only one that stuck it out that whole entire time.
God bless him.
You know?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. One of Sarah's referenced people who spoke at her trial said that they helped each other on their cases. Sarah helped her a lot. She helped Sarah with the case. Yeah, that happens all the time.
Pena. Yeah.
It happens. It doesn't mean that they've helped in an actual helping way. They may have. I don't know. It's exhausting because I think that here, for example, the inmates now have access to LexisNexis.
Oh, so for free?
They're big. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
In the county jail. I don't have LexisNexis. Listen. When I tutored law through the pandemic, I used Google Scholar. Are you kidding me? No. So the problem is now they all want to give you their case laws, is what they call it, their case laws. And so then you have to go in, you either say, okay, great, or you have to try to explain that. So you don't get to just pick quotes out of cases that you like. Has to be similar fact pattern. You have to be pulling stuff from a controlling district or circuit. There's like parameters.
Right. Which Owen seemed confused about because he cited a lot of things that were not applicable to what he was talking about. And he went to law school, and even I'm like, that doesn't make sense, sir.
So yeah, I don't know if too much information is a good thing. I don't know. I don't know.
I think it's scary though, because you have Sarah who's been drinking for years and years, and then she gets in jail. Now she's a scholar, right? She wants access to the law library and all of these things. Like,
wants all the things.
I don't even know if her brain is working properly, right? Does she have wet brain? Like, is she coherent? But then she wants to interpret all these things. I can only imagine, like, when I saw Patricia Cashman's note that she got a 78-page letter from Sarah, just one. She got multiple. But what could she have to say in 78 pages? Like, explaining the details of hide and seek?
Many adjectives. Like, she had to use lots and lots and lots and lots. I texted Billy. I was like, you need to get her to tone down the writing. Like, the adjectives are overwhelming. It's unnecessary. Like, I sent him a whole like bullet point list of things to try to get Sarah to do so that she would be a little more palatable. I think they listened to a couple of them because I watched the next hearing and it looked like she had done a couple of the things. But the only other person I've had that has done writing like that was the Sovereign Citizen. And that's just because they throw law and the Constitution and some vegetable soup into the blender and spit it back out to you on paper. And if you have any legal, I guess, education or understanding of any kind, it will make your head warp because your brain is trying to understand the argument they're making. Like, you're trying to take your knowledge, like, that costs you absolute fortune. You're trying to take that and what common sense you've got left in your head that while you're wondering why you're sitting there reading this in the first place, like, what choices did you make that you are now sitting in front of 78 pages of Sovereign Citizen insanity? And I'm like, I want the 400. There's a $400,000 trust fund. Where's mine? Let me have it, please. Can I have it? Can I have the trust fund?
Yes, I'll take some of that, please.
It didn't work like that, though. I didn't get the trust fund.
Oh my God.
Okay, so I hate to keep dragging this out. Everybody is saying that, Child TV Live, thank you so much to Child TV Live, Aaron, who is running this stream in the background for me, says we're at 487 subs. There's 13 more to go. Oh, Alexis is asking for Henry. You've invoked his name. He walked past here a moment ago, but I don't know where he is.
Oh.
I made sure I fed him and then let him out on the balcony here. Larry
Henry is
Power.
the cat. Someone's like,
Henry
Henry.
is, oh yeah, sorry. Henry is my cat who normally makes his presence known on my streams, but then the last several, he somehow magically just goes back into the closet and goes to sleep. And as soon as I get ready to wrap it up, he's back out here.
Oh my God. Wait, someone Afton put, don't forget her interest in Japanese art. Can we just talk about like the
sure,
sentencing?
Mhm.
What in the actual, when she is like, I just can't imagine that she thought that was going to be good. And that was the reduced version that Owens like cut out the part about Kranick and the other lawyers. Again, that's the cutting off the, like, was it worth it? Cutting off her nose to spite her face. Was
That's
it
the
worth
high
it?
school in her.
But ma'am, there are consequences and your life is on the line. You know what I mean? Even if that's why I don't think she's as diabolical as people think, because if she were, she would have faked that and been like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Like if she were conniving, but she just went on and dug herself a deeper hole. I forgive you for making myself pro se, or for making me pro se. No, ma'am, he did not make you pro se. You made yourself pro se.
There's a huge gap, I think, in people wanting to take responsibility or accountability for anything. And I find that to be the same with these juveniles. Like, it's almost like their brain has not understood that they just. I sat across from a kid and I said, the other kid, the kid on the other side of this that is no longer alive, that could have been you, because you do the same thing he did.
Right.
And that your roles could have been reversed. So I don't want your statement about how this has affected you. I want to know how this affected that family and the rest of the people.
Right. The loved ones. Yeah. Those who experienced the loss.
His baby mama or his girlfriend or his parents that had to come and, all the things. I don't care that it woke you up from your life of, whatever, your happiness being out there for the girls and doing the things. And there's just, it's like there's a huge disconnect between reality and everyone, and I don't know why.
But I think for the I'm going to call them children, like the brain is not done developing until 25, right? So like their ration and reason is not what ours is.
So lock them up at that age in a prison or in a county jail. They can't even do their GED here. So it's such a waste. Like, I'm not saying they shouldn't be held accountable. I think very much they should be held accountable. But
absolutely.
I don't think it should just be sitting there making calls all day long from the county jail.
Right.
I mean, do something, learn something. It seems.
Yeah. And where are their parents? So like the first 3 years of life, your brain is going to grow and connections are going to be made more than ever again in your entire lifetime, right? What is going on with these? Like, is there some like parenting class for people or some sort of guide? Like, are people even aware of that? Like, I see people yelling at like toddlers, screaming at the top of their lungs. And I'm like, oh my God, you are traumatizing that child for life. Like, I can't think of a single reason why I would ever scream at my son. Like, and they are just dragging them along the street, screaming, yelling, I told you. All of those things impact who we become, right? And then are they invested and involved before their son gets in trouble? Like any mom can be like, oh, my baby would never do that. But what time did you invest in your child?
They didn't.
What values have you given them so that they understand it's not a video game? Like when you kill someone, that is forever.
They don't they don't understand. And the crazy part of it, and I'm kind of mushing some of these kids together, right? I mean, they all have slightly similar stories, but for some of them, they have seen their own siblings be shot in the head.
Oh.
Or they've had it happen and maybe they didn't see it, but it happened to them. And then they go out a couple years down the road, and where is their parent who, and in one case, at least, the parents are together. The parents both have real normal jobs. They even moved to try to keep the kid, take him out of this one neighborhood and put him in a different one. And he just kept going back, But then one child has died. There's another one that's in jail. One's in prison, and now one's sitting trial for. And it's just like
all in
okay,
the same family. Wow.
I know. So we're like, oh, your brother can't be here because he's on ankle monitor or whatever, and that'd be a VOP, violation of his probation.
I learned that today.
Kid was sitting in the courtroom anyway. I'm just like, oh my God. People, like, there's just so much misinformation. I just can't.
He's
I
sitting
just
in the
can't.
courtroom. Did they take him out in new
No,
bracelets?
because people aren't monitoring that stuff 24/7 the way they think that it's being monitored. It's just not.
So
Or
I want to
maybe
know the answer to this question on here. That
Sure.
did her story change?
No.
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 Okay.
Not that I can recall. It was, I think what it was, I think it was her framing of it that got sharper as time went by. It was less of a kind of a question, like, well, I think this is how it went, or I think this is what happened, into more solidified of this is what happened.
Okay.
In her version. Although, I'm trying to think. She said it was almost like she was testing it out. The one thing I always thought, I didn't realize there had been a bat there.
Oh,
Remember,
yeah.
I got the case very, very, very early on. Like I said, when Mauricio came on, and I had a police report, and I helped prep deposition questions, and I went and I met with her, but I didn't see a lot of the discovery. So I remember Billy telling me some about it, and I was convinced that she sent him down the stairs in the suitcase. I didn't know that there was a bat, but I knew there had to be something that made the, that caused the wall to do what the wall did and the neighbors to say what the neighbors said.
Right. Yeah, and she forgot. I think she just forgot that she sent him down the stairs. And then tried to say like it was the night before and her hair was pulled out. Like, no, ma'am.
Did she send him down the stairs?
Well, something went down the stairs because the neighbors heard the wall shake, and then the one neighbor was on the phone call with his girlfriend in another state or whatever, and she heard it. So something went down. If it wasn't the suitcase, what was it?
Something
if it wasn't him in the suitcase, yeah. I mean, she admits to the bat part downstairs, but she doesn't admit to. But didn't Mr. J make a great point of, look, if she hit outside the bat, there's that structure in there that she would have been hitting, right?
Right.
And so it was like, it had to be, she likely hit him outside of the suitcase with the bat. Because of the, if you remember in his closing, and like he banged on it and said, this is, I think it was like the spine of the suitcase. She would have been hitting that and not him. The way that he was facing, his head was facing out here, but he had bat marks right here. So this part of his head was inside of the suitcase, right? It's inside. And then someone just did a video where they zoomed in and the zipper is actually closed behind his head. So with him inside of the suitcase like this, there's no way she's hitting his face right here while he's tucked in like this.
Okay. See, I didn't follow it even when the trial was on. I'm working. I catch, it's like I zone in and out of stuff, right? So I'll catch pieces. But I didn't, or I watch, I watch content creators. Like if I want a legal argument broken down super wicked fast, I go to Peter Tragos.
Okay. Emily D. Baker is my girl for the super fast.
Yeah, I like Emily a lot. I think she does a really good job of breaking the reasoning down. I think Peter does a really good job of looking at it from both sides, prosecution and defense, because
he definitely
been both.
Yep. He's good at that.
And Emily is incredibly good at breaking it down and explaining it, but she very much has a prosecutor's mind, in my opinion.
Right.
That doesn't make it bad. It's not, I'm not saying it's bad at all. It's just, I think that's, a lot of I want to say a lot of criminal defense attorneys have been prosecutors at some point. And a
Okay.
lot of people go into either the prosecutor's office or the public defender's office for 10 years because they'll get student loan forgiveness.
I did not know that. Okay. Like the law
So I
school
have
student loans?
Mhm. I have friends this year who will come off of their I've got one that's started at the PD's office who is now at Office of Regional Conflict Counsel, and her loans, because we graduated in 2014. So
Okay.
there's still a payment that has to be made. It's public service forgiveness loans. You still have to make a payment, right? But as long as you stay on track, you do what you're supposed to do, and you turn in all your documentation, this year should wipe a lot of my cohort's loans out. Mine will
That's
never go
nice.
away. Yeah. Yeah, if I was younger, I totally would have done one or the other, but I graduated just a few months shy of 50, and I knew my limitations to an extent.
Yeah. Yeah. No, good, good. To thine
So
own self be true. Do you know? Don't bite off more than yeah.
sometimes I have bitten off more than I can chew, but so I just want to say thank you so much. We've held like a really strong number for this entire time.
Oh,
Um
yay.
so that's great. I've enjoyed the conversation. Poor Sugar Bear, he's ready to be done with the night. Let me see, is there anybody, did I miss any other questions? I think I got them. Oh, well, LW wants to know what happened to Owens, his phone, and his website, and his office. Well, if you were Owens, would you not just go completely off the grid? I mean, can you imagine?
No. No. But he knew what he was signing up for.
Do you think he did?
Yeah. I think so. I think that's why he was hesitant. He also thought I mean, he knew what he was signing up for as far as the notoriety. I don't think he knew what he was signing up for as far as exactly who
Sarah?
Sarah is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think he
So,
thought he was going to talk her into a deal.
yeah, well, I mean, that would have been the common sense thing to do. You know, part of what upsets me about the current state of the legal field right now is that there is a generation that needs to go ahead and move on to playing golf on the daily, or whatever it is they're going to do, because they aren't keeping up with anything. They don't keep up with the tech. You see it. Listen, chat, anybody out there, there is money to be made in teaching lawyers how to use courtroom tech.
There you go.
There has to be, because you see them fumbling with an Elmo, which is like a projector. They don't know how to use tech in a courtroom, not even in a federal courtroom. In fact, the
Yikes.
federal courtroom had the worst tech of any courtroom I've ever been in. You couldn't even get a phone signal in there. Not that you were allowed to have a phone. I was allowed to have my phone. I had a letter, so I could have my phone.
What about appellate court? What's that like? Do they present things, or is it just oral arguments?
Rarely.
Like,
It's not.
okay.
Yeah, no. It's only arguments at that point.
Okay.
No. And there won't be, I mean, I feel like you know this, that there's not going to be a lot of filings and communications. When you come straight out of a trial like that, the appellate attorney is just reviewing the record.
He's still missing, by the way. He hasn't shown up
He
yet.
hasn't shown up.
No. It still has Owens listed.
I thought you found him.
I mean, I didn't find him. He was listed there, but he hasn't shown up. He hasn't filed a notice of appearance, and he's not listed on the 6th District website. It still says James Sylvan Owens on there.
Wow.
Yeah. But go ahead, talk through the process, because there's been a lot of questions. I know, at least on my side.
What are your questions? Do you tell me?
Everyone has a right to an appeal, but what does that look like? Do you get oral arguments always, or does it sometimes get stopped before oral arguments? Like, what is that? What are the options, I guess, the decision tree?
There is actually a decision tree, because people's appeals are not endless, even though they would very much like them to be. So that first time around, that attorney just gets the record. What is the record? And they review it, and they're looking for like literal mistakes. irreparable harm. So there's
Ooh.
harmless error and then there's irreparable harm. So they're not looking at evidence. They're not looking at police conduct. They're looking for what took place in the court record. Does that
Like
make
the
sense?
rulings that the judge made, the decisions he
The
made to
filing, yeah, that, and then the what happened at trial.
Okay.
And it's, do you affirm or remand? So I had a case, the case I'm going to do the podcast about is actually speaks to this. We tried the murder case in 2016 for the first time. Guilty on 2 counts of first degree. Goes to appeal. The attorney even sends me the appellate brief, and I don't get past the first page because some of the facts don't seem right to me, and I got frustrated.
Ooh.
So I pick up the phone in 2018, and he said, I knew you'd still be there, was the defendant. I knew you would still be there. We got it back. It was overturned on appeal. Because what happened was the judge let the state present their jailhouse snitch. We had a counter jailhouse snitch. So judge had him proffered, sent the jury out. Guy came up and testified. Judge said, no, your testimony is not coming in. Send it back to jail. Well, the appellate court found that that was an incorrect ruling. So they vacated, or they overturned the conviction and remanded it back to the circuit court. Because again, my lingo comes from Florida because this is where I live and work.
But the lower court, everybody gets it. It remanded back to the lower,
court.
yeah.
Lower state court. Yeah, right. So it came back, and it was a JAC case, and it came back to the original attorney who had worked on it, like back into my lap, basically. So we retried it in 2020, and it was 2 not guilties. Because guess
Congratulations.
what? There was no DNA where the state said there was DNA.
Wow.
You need really good experts, and you need someone who's willing to sort of pull it all together. And that's when I really, working that case, I became licensed investigator in 2019. I waved my way through the 2-year intern process because of law school and then my former job. So I didn't have to do the internship. I just took a test and then, paid the state a lot of money to do background and whatever that I'd already done. Being certified legal intern in law school, you already have to be.
Oh,
it's just a lot of money. The state just likes to take your money. So
most states do.
Yeah. So we tried that in 2020. And at that point, at the beginning of the year of 2020, I knew already that I was going to push into investigation full time. What I did not know was that we were going into a pandemic.
Right.
And that created a problem because our courts criminal courts came shut down, and we couldn't go to the jails. And
so no Zoom, nothing. Court was just dark.
For a while, they didn't know what to do with the criminal proceedings. Civil. They eventually came to a resolution like, okay, civil stuff can proceed under these conditions. And then finally, they pushed towards criminal Zoom. But I spent a year sitting right here, tutoring legal research and writing.
Wow.
From 7 a.m. until sometimes 11 p.m. Just nonstop. My mom said, you're traumatizing yourself all over again. You are reliving law school on the daily. I'm like, I know, but it's the only thing that's paying me right now.
Oof.
Because they couldn't go. The law school students, they had no one to go to for, there were no TAs, there were no clinics. There was nothing for them to do.
There was no in-person anything, and they didn't set up. Oh God. Wow.
Right. So I never started out being a legal tutor on the site. I was just a writing tutor. And then I put some of my background in there. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, why am I getting all these legal research and writing? Somebody said, oh, well, you're the best rated.
Nice.
I was like, wait, hold on. Let me call my first year 1L writing professor who made me cry every day. I need to tell her this.
Oh my God.
But you were asking about appeals. I apologize. I went way off track. So
No,
anyway,
it's all good.
the first appeal, they're looking into the trial record. They're looking for a fundamental error. I'm mixing up some legal jargon. I know I am. Later down the road, there are other appeals. The only time you're going to see oral argument, I believe, to the best of my knowledge, let me just caveat that, is when there is literally a constitutional question. And it doesn't mean a United States constitutional question. It could be a Florida, it's like a question of your constitutional rights. Have they been violated in some way? That's where you hear the argument, not whether or not Sarah deleted a photo from her phone.
Oh my God. Right. Yeah.
That's, you see, I mean, there's a big difference.
Because I feel like if there's one thing that, not that there was an error, but just to like have it become case law, is the fact that she forfeited / waived. I feel like they would at least review that. I believe it would be affirmed because I think Kranick was thorough, but I think just to have it as like a rubber stamp of yes, this specific.
Oh, it will be reviewed for sure.
Okay.
But cases don't become law unless they settle a question. So if you're reading a case, you're looking for what is the question presented? What are they asking? And then the court will say, we hold, and that's the answer to the question. I need to.
So an example is for what can a defendant waive or forfeit their right to counsel without being explicitly told, this is your last shot. If you do not work out with this attorney, you will get no more free ones. You can hire all you want to. Because that's what she got, right? There was never, she was never told Cashman was it. If it doesn't work with Cashman, you're on your own. I mean, she still would have written that 58-page letter. It's Sarah. But there was nothing that said,
Kranick didn't warn her. I thought she was being warned repeatedly.
So Kranick said to her that you don't want to get to that place. And then in her next letter, she wrote, well, I don't want to be pro se, right? She didn't stop writing, but he didn't say definitively, this is it. Like when he assigned Cashman, right? Because Hobson was being relieved. He assigned Cashman knowing she had a good reputation for difficult clients, right? And then it blew up. But he never said to Sarah, this is your last, if this does not work, you will be looking for counsel on your own. This is the last court-appointed attorney you're going to get.
Okay. To counter that, I believe you, of course, because I think you are,
it's okay.
you are the factual, come here, because you're the factual goddess of Sarah. However, I would say that Kranick did more research and came more factually prepared than any judge or anybody I've ever seen in my entire life. This cat weighs a ton.
He's so cute. Oh my God, he's so big. Hi, Henry.
Alexis, here's Henry.
Yeah, Kranick was very thorough. I mean, he dotted all his I's and crossed all his T's.
He really did. He really did.
He went back through all the lawyers. Like that 16-page order was just chocked full of, this is what happened. Here's what the case law, here, you know, it was beautiful.
Right. That's why I feel like, I mean, I have no doubt that will be challenged. It'll be interesting to see the outcome. I mean, I can't predict what the court's going to say, you know, what an appellate court's going to say. It's there's 3 judges on a panel. They don't hear oral arguments a lot. I haven't followed the legality of what's happening in her case, but I'd be interested to know what happens if she ever gets to an appellate attorney, which seems
eventually.
To be a problem.
She's got life. She's got time. No need to rush.
Yeah, but she's not gonna have the kind of contact, you know, that she's used to having. Like there's no audience for her now.
Right.
You don't have contact with your appellate attorney at this level. And the state does not pay for one beyond this. Like this is her
Oh,
one. So when I have several cases that I would live to turn the internet loose on, right? I really would, because they're post-conviction cases and they may have run out of legal avenues back in. You don't get umpteen bites at the apple. It doesn't work like that. There's
thank
only
God.
so many ways you get back in to court. And then once that door closed, it's closed. And try to explain that to people. They don't like it very much. So once she's passed this first appeal, I have no doubt that she will file all of her own pro se beyond that, and that she will end up with a sanction, with the court saying you stop or you will be sanctioned.
Ooh,
Because
that's coming. You know that's going to happen. She's not going to stop until someone makes her stop.
I mean, I've got one that's what happened. But the JAC, they don't like paying for post-conviction work at all. So,
really? It's interesting because they're cheap on the front side, and then they don't. I mean, you would think they would put a little more money up front to set it up,
It's really crazy if you think about it, right? What brought me to YouTube was in response to people talking about the JAC and the amount of money that was being spent on Sarah. Is a fraction, a teeny tiny fraction of what the state spends on any given case. It's the state of Florida pays for the prosecution of Sarah Boone, the salaries of the prosecutors, the expert fees, and the state of Florida also pays for the public defender. They pay for the JAC. The JAC's money comes from the state of Florida. They pay Office of Regional Counsel. They pay me. All the money comes from the state, but it's like this, it's not, it's not even. And
but do you feel like it makes it fair because the state does not have the option of appeal? Does that kind of, no? Okay.
The state can appeal at an interlocutory level. I've had that happen before. And
fair.
An argument that actually won. We're at 499 subs. Are you serious right now?
Oh my God. One more,
and we can all go to bed, guys.
Oh my God. So they do it. Did it just hit? Yay! So after you rest, look up your how to set up your members, because you'll be able to.
I set up some things last week, but I will. I have lots of help. I do want to say thank you to my help, which is Jenny, who is usually up here with me. She has been a moderator in the chat, Trial TV Live. Of course, that's Erin, who is a producer because I'm a yeeter. Jenny Reisinger, I just said that. I'm sorry. Leah, the empty nester. And Alexis W., who has been researching and organizing and working with Jenny. I've got there's a village, Tanika.
I love it. I love it.
Keep me afloat.
They're great.
They've been tremendous, and I'm really grateful for everyone.
So Mel has this question. I know we're going to wrap up. I won't ask any more after this because I'm curious too, because Peter, lawyer, was saying that Owens is meant to file a withdrawal, but I didn't see that. And then Mel's asking, does he have to file the withdrawal before the other attorney can file the notice of appearance? Do you know?
Yeah, technically he should. I believe that's correct. So it's normal. The trial counsel always files the notice of appeal, right? And it's to tell the clerk of courts to prepare the record for appeal. So it's like a check mark. People freak out. Oh my God, James Jones is going to be the appellate attorney. No, he's checking a box. Right. So he checks that box, and then he puts in a notice to withdraw.
And so that hasn't happened yet. He hasn't put in that withdrawal notice.
I mean, I learned everything I knew from you.
Well, I looked at the docket. I checked earlier. He hasn't put in a notice of withdrawal on either the lower court or on the appellate, the district court, because it has him as the attorney there.
So technically, before a new attorney can be appointed, an old one has to withdraw. Or before a new one can file a notice of appearance, the old one has to withdraw.
So maybe he was waiting for it to actually appear on the appellate website, and now he'll do it? Because it was in limbo for like a month. From 12/18 to or 2 weeks. I'm exaggerating, but So it was out in the ether.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. It seems weird that she doesn't have appellate counsel, but it's Sarah's case, so why would you expect things to
Why would
keep
it be different now? Why would it suddenly start going right?
I mean, come on. I don't think we can expect drama free, but she's not going to get the audience she once had. You know,
Gotcha.
there's access to prisoners is somewhat restricted, although it has changed a lot since COVID. And
Gotcha.
all the Florida prisons do things differently. I was watching you when you were going over what she was buying. She had to be buying clothes for different people because she went from like a medium to a 2XL, the same shirt, like 5 different sizes. And
Yeah.
then I looked at what she was ordering to eat, and it was like cookies and crackers and chips. And I was like, she's going to be a 2XL if this is what she's eating. And then it's like she can have freaking DoorDash. It's like she was ordering catering. I mean, what's
It's
with all of that?
yeah.
Like, whatever happened to they all have to go eat the loaf off the tray? That's what I thought it was, that you got loaf.
Mads is asking about, she thought that 1,000 is for memberships. No, YouTube
No.
changed the rules. So 500 is memberships, 1,000 is ad monetization. And of course, you can do sponsorships anytime before or
I
after.
have the buy me a coffee thing. You can
Oh,
buy
you
me
have that link? Yeah, I love that.
Aaron, Aaron can put that in there. There's a buy
Okay.
me a coffee, and there's and they pay, buy me a coffee now has a monthly membership.
I saw that.
Yeah, so I set that up.
Nice. I'm trying to figure out where to put files because people want to see some of the documents, and I'm like, should I do a Patreon? Should I try to do a Dropbox? Do you share documents?
Mhm.
Or what
It depends.
platform are you?
Well, it depends. It depends. So, personally, I keep all my stuff in something called Proton because it's encrypted. But Google Drive is probably going to be your easiest.
Okay.
And then you just probably want to find a way to sort of seal that off from all the rest of your stuff.
Right. I want it to be walled off, and I think I also will do a password that probably changes every 30 months because otherwise, I mean, not every 30 months, every 30 days. So as people come and,
Go.
join and
Yeah.
leave membership, yeah, they
Yeah.
would lose
I
access
would
to
look
it.
into Google actually has some really good security features, believe it or not. I don't know much about it because I live in this Apple world. So like my personal world is all iOS. My work is Proton and Box and some
Okay.
Dropbox and then some Google Drive. But I've put all the YouTube stuff over into Google and I'm learning it all.
Gotcha. Okay. April. Her alimony would run out in April. If the judge agrees that he should pay it. I don't think the judge is. Just I did a video earlier, just based on the language of waiting. I don't think you're eligible for alimony while you're incarcerated. The state's taking care of you. Why does she need Brian's money?
No, she doesn't. She doesn't. She doesn't. And she's just selfish at this point for continuing to drag, them around, basically.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable how selfish people are.
Yeah.
Really and truly. All right. Well, I want to say thank you to Tanika for coming on here and having this conversation with me. I hope we can do it again sometime. I have some investigations that I'm hoping to talk with you about that maybe we can see if there's anything to be investigated. And you guys, you all know Tanika's channel, Tanika's 2 Cents. Are you elsewhere on social media, Tanika?
I am on Instagram at simply.tanika. That's it.
Okay.
It's a lot of baby pictures.
You don't have like a set schedule, right? Yeah.
No.
I think that's awesome.
I'm on the mommy schedule. I get in where
But
I
you
can fit
post a
in.
lot of content frequently, so
Yes.
yeah.
Turn on your
And
notifications.
turn on yes, you guys, so turn on your notifications, and I guess you need to, like, make sure that your device is enabled for whatever notification. There's so many notifications right now, I can't.
Yes, that came up in my analytics. Like, there are people who have notifications on, but like to my channel, but they don't have the notifications on their device, right? So you to pop up and say a video is
Right,
posting. So if you guys want to know, check that, because sometimes I go live in like a 20-minute advance notice.
right, and sometimes it's very, very early in the morning,
Yes.
which is
But you
fine
know,
'cause
the UK is awake.
yeah, no, of course, somebody's always awake somewhere. Yeah, um I forgot what I was gonna say. Anyway, we look forward to a lot more fun content coming from you. Fun and factual, I think, because you provide a lot of fun and a lot of really good, solid facts. And
Thank
I think
you.
that's what the world of true crime needs. It's not speculation, but like you actually go and dig for your information and say where it came from. And I think that's really commendable because a lot of people just throw assumptions out in the air and other people flock to it.
Yes. Having gone through a murder trial in my own personal life, I know that those details matter, at least to the family. So I try to be respectful of the victims in that regard. Yeah.
Was that a case that your family was involved in?
My brother was murdered when he was 25 years old,
Oh,
and
wow.
the guy was facing the death penalty, who did it. And so, which, even though there's a stay on it in California now, but it just is a long process. He was murdered in 2001. We didn't get to trial till 2007, and just a lot of misinformation. It hurts the family.
It does hurt the family. I think that people go for clicks and likes and views, and they don't stop to think about the people attached to either the victim or the defendant for that matter, because the defendant's family is not always like the Wagner family in Ohio where they're all involved, or the Adelsons where they're all involved. You know, this is heartbreaking for people who thought they raised good children, or you know what I mean? Like there
Yeah.
are siblings and children and parents and all the other things out there that it takes a toll on everyone. It's not just the person we see on the screen. And so yeah, I'm very sorry to hear that you had to go through that experience in your own life. And so was he ultimately convicted, the
Yes,
person?
he was. He was convicted. He was convicted. He got the death penalty. Hopefully he's run out of appeals by now, but yeah, that was 2007. It's rough. And it's also important to get the facts right for the defendant's family too, right? Because they have children who weren't involved. Like the Adelsons, Charlie's son wasn't involved. You want to at least get the facts right. I know sometimes we want it to be more salacious than it is. I'm not saying
Right.
like paint Charles as a saint, but there were some, like he was protecting his sister. There were other things that were going on. It's not just always about like making that person out to be a bad person. Do you know? There are other people in their lives who love them. So I just feel like it's like justice is not about vengeance or portraying one person as the bad guy.
Right,
It's
right.
not
That's
black and
really good.
white.
I like the way you phrase that. That's really, really good. Yeah, I think that people just want to there's a lot of layer and nuance, and some people are just really, really bad, but a lot of times it's a lot more complex than that. And it's hard on everyone, and it takes its toll on the people that work on the cases too. So if you can limit your exposure to the awful, awful things, then please do. And I would push that out to everyone. Know what might get under your skin and stay there, and keep yourself away from that. There will always be another trial to watch. There will always be another defendant. If there's something out there that really gets to you, don't engage with it. You can walk away. There will be another person out there doing crime, right? As you said, don't do crimes.
Yes, don't do crimes. Someone will not heed that, and there will be many trials for us to
Uh,
analyze.
mhm, mhm, mhm. Yep. All right. Well, everyone, I hope you have a great rest of your weekend. Thank you so much for joining us, for chatting, and for subscribing to my channel. I appreciate you so much. I stream at 7:15 on Saturday nights. Right now, we're working through the power of the prosecution. So thank you so much, Tanika. I really appreciate you being here.
Thank you. I enjoyed it.
I hope you will come back again.
Definitely. Have a good evening.
You too.
Okay. Bye-bye. No.